Stick with me here, you are about to see Derrick get the rooftop signal. Sylvie screams the rules, 30 seconds, do not get trapped. He just casually chugs his drink, completely brushing off those serious life or death instructions. With a quick hop, he hits the ground running, smirking, reminding her this is literally another Tuesday for him, just checking his list. Save the world. Home by dinner. Easy. She calls him an idiot but is clearly charmed by his insane confidence. Energy swirls from her hands as the portal opens. In a massive flash, Derrick is fully armored and ready for action. He steps straight into that swirling vortex without hesitating. But the other side, it is an absolute literal hellscape. Demons crawling everywhere and the floor is actual lava. Suddenly, he is wondering how this simple mission went so wrong. Completely surrounded, holding a fallen teammate, zero way out. Years, maybe decades later, he is still haunted by this exact memory. Now he is older, covered in scars, and still stuck on that failed mission. He learned one brutal lesson: playing hero is for fools. A lesson he instantly ignores. Back in the memory, his team screams for him to escape. His torn teammates scream they cannot leave anyone behind. Being one of the absolute strongest on Earth, he actually thought he could save everyone. Derrick violently carves a path, fully convinced he can save him. But his older self just drowns in the heavy memory of failure. Back then, he hauled his buddy toward the exit, promising safety was just steps away. A promise his older self knows was a complete lie. Now brace yourself, right at the goal line, a demon violently skewers his friend, and all Derrick can do is scream. His only escape route collapses into absolute nothing. This nightmare just reinforces his new motto: helping people equals pain. With his team wiped out, he desperately sprints for the portal, screaming for it to stay open just 1 second longer. His armored hand stretches out almost safe, only for the vortex to viciously snap shut right on his arm. He looks down at his stump, slowly processing the horror. That sheer what the heck moment hitting him full force. Suddenly, he is floating in a pitch-black void, arm completely gone. Even now, that phantom pain makes older Derrick gasp. Collapsing in this mental prison, he desperately asks why, spiraling hard. Was he just too weak, or was this a massive betrayal? Grabbing his spear, he tries writing it off as simple paranoia. Just his broken mind playing tricks again. He tragically clings to hope that his team is returning, counting days or centuries, who knows, until his carved tally marks start completely disappearing. For literal ages, he did everything to stay sane in this void, meditating constantly just to keep his mind from shattering, training non-stop, just desperately dreaming of seeing the sun again. Then out of nowhere, boom, a red alarm blares and our guy is thrown for an absolute loop. A system window pops up, basically saying he is out of network range. A completely terrible sign when you are trapped in literal nothingness. He totally freaks out, begging the system not to abandon him. But it coldly tells him to move back into range. Real helpful, right? Just like that, his last reality connection severs, leaving him pleading not to lose his final lifeline. He wildly tries to punch his way out, like hitting pure air. His insane vitality becomes a curse, healing him only to prolong the pure agony. Mentally shattering into a million pieces while the void chills. Finally, he just gives up, begging for it to end as he floats away, losing his mind all over again. I know what you are thinking. Game over, right? But then the void itself suddenly decides to call him out. Our guy is understandably startled by this insane development. But after eons of pure nothingness, he is totally ready to answer. A massive crack appears inside his personal pocket dimension. For a hot second, he is completely sure he finally lost his mind. But the reflection in his eye says otherwise. That crack is real and it is getting aggressively bigger. Suddenly, Derrick has a real purpose. Get the heck out. He smashes it with his spear to widen the opening, not caring where it leads because literally anything is better than this. Peeking through, another armored dude stares back and promptly blasts him with a massive energy beam. So much for a friendly welcome committee. Derrick gets violently thrown back, realizing this is zero hallucination. A monster comes roaring through the portal. He dryly notes, that is terrible manners. This beast is just all teeth and glowing red eyes. So Derrick decides to teach it some manners. Honestly, he is curious how insanely strong he is without his system. Terrible time for a science experiment, honestly. With that thought, he dives straight at the monster, charging a laser. The beast unleashes a huge energy wave, but Derrick whips around it like nothing, letting the blast detonate harmlessly right behind him. Smaller demons get caught in the crossfire, and trust me, you will want to see how he handles this big guy looming over him. Derrick finally accepts that this definitely is not some hallucination. You can literally feel his confusion. The shock fully hits him when he realizes he's actually bleeding. Trust me, you and I are about to see him get completely serious. The mental fog vanishes and he is ready to brawl, figuring death makes a solid exit strategy. His opponent starts charging another massive attack, this time packing 2 glowing energy orbs. So Derrick plants his feet for a brutal countercharge. After decades of absolute nothingness, he finally launches into a real fight, and the terrifying monster is completely thrilled to meet him head-on. Fueled by years of lost sanity, he flawlessly weaves through those energy blasts, dodging quickly to close the gap. Pushing way past his limits, his only goal is destroy, or be destroyed. He braces his spear against the incoming doom blast. Roaring for the beast to move, Derrick literally shatters that energy blast using nothing but pure, concentrated rage. He parkours across the floating rocks like an absolute madman, sporting a wildly triumphant grin. With one epic final push, he blasts straight through the monster, soaring right out into open space. Our boy is just laughing hysterically. Seeing the sun after centuries, he screams about his freedom while soaring through the sky. Now you have got to see this. Some poor kid is running for his life, completely regretting every decision he has ever made. His terrible day gets worse when he trips right off a cliff. The look on his face, pure, unadulterated panic. Tumbling down a mountain is honestly terrible for travel, especially when a giant monster wolf is hot on your heels. The kid looks up absolutely certain that it is game over. He scrambles backward, slipping on wet rock. The monster lunges for a quick snack, knocking the poor kid straight into the churning water. Clinging to a rock for dear life, he somehow survives the fall, only to look up and spot a god descending from above. Derrick makes an incredibly grand entrance, crashing directly into the water with a massive explosion. He stands there looking like an absolute boss, while the stunned kid stares. Seriously, worst day of this guy's life. First a giant wolf, now this terrifying armored nightmare. From his terrified perspective, Derrick looks like the ultimate final boss. But Derrick has his own major problems. A weird system error pops up about an invading system and he is completely confused. Suddenly, another portal tears open up in the sky because why not? A new armored guy flies out looking seriously ticked off. This kid cannot catch a single break. Now there are two of them. Skipping the introductions, the newcomer blasts a massive energy beam, instantly knocking Derrick out cold inside a freshly made crater. Meanwhile, that monster wolf shakes itself off, somehow still kicking. Its glowing eyes lock onto its target, hungry for serious payback. The beast spots Derrick's unconscious body lying right down there. A perfectly easy meal. The newcomer's mind flashes back to being painfully trapped in a void. His entire identity is shattering, questioning everything he ever knew. These painful memories are just fractured pieces of a forgotten life. He wonders if his system or his existence was just a dream. Back in reality, the wolf takes full advantage and starts chowing down on Derrick's arm. Derrick literally wakes up from his nap asking for 5 more minutes. Can you believe this guy? He completely ignores the monster, using his arm as a chew toy, laughing and calling it a tickle. His brain is clearly still offline, which makes the wolf even angrier because this is definitely not a fun playdate. Finally, his eyes snap wide open and his patience vanishes. Playtime is over. In a flash, he is choking the monster by its throat, and the kid hiding nearby is absolutely convinced he just met the devil's older brother. Derrick just coldly stares, looking completely numb to everything. He holds the beast up, calling it a puppy, because his sanity is completely gone. The wolf is absolutely terrified. Our boy just admires his new pet before casually yeeting it into the woods like a frisbee. It crashes near a skull, a standard welcome mat here. Derrick just casually tells his brand new puppy to keep quiet. He admires the beautiful, lush scenery, which is mostly just a ton of bones and general nightmare fuel. Suddenly, his armor vanishes and he realizes this crazy situation definitely was not a dream after all. Even weirder, his system returned, but totally different. His new stat sheet is a mess. Level 0 with 0 skills but insane stats. He summons his spear anyway because rules are clearly just mere suggestions to him. He instantly tests an energy slash just to prove the broken system wrong. With his power confirmed, he is totally ready to go. Meanwhile, his new pet looks completely traumatized, and that is where we leave it. He tries spamming his energy slash but nothing happens, giving him a massive headache as his skills stay offline. Let's jump right back in. He remembers that weird invading error from earlier and wonders, did his old system just fuse with a brand new one? Sitting alone in this bizarre forest, our guy is completely lost. Snap a broken twig instantly puts him on high alert. His new pet starts growling. Derrick yells out, and look who it is, the kid from the cliff flat on the dirt begging for his life. Derrick just stares. A man-eating demon. He is completely confused. The kid, whose name is Thomas by the way, explains his totally valid panic. Our guy asks what exactly about him, screams Maneater. Honestly, fair point. But then his traumatized pet wolf barks, absolutely terrifying the poor kid. Derrick quickly scolds the bad dog. Meanwhile, Thomas assumes he is totally crazy. After that awkward moment, he officially introduces himself. Then he asks why Thomas is so terrified of this weak little furball. Thomas explains the rules. You cannot use the system until you turn 13. And to unlock it, you have to kill a monster. The poor wolf instantly realizes it is the victim here. Crack Derrick snaps its neck in a flash, zero hesitation. Thomas is completely horrified, but Derrick calls him naive. It was never a pet. The dead wolf is just a brutal, super effective teaching moment. Derrick explains the harsh truth. At level 0, Thomas would just be lunch. Suddenly, bam, a massive wave of notifications hits. System unlocked and he is leveling up incredibly fast. Our boy just laughs. He finally feels like his old self. But wait, weird error messages pop up out of nowhere. The new system tried to delete his original one and completely failed. His wild theory was absolutely right. It cannot overwrite him. He grins. Watch closely here. He is not just back, he is running 2 systems simultaneously. Right then, a massive stomach grumble ruins the epic moment. Thomas looks absolutely embarrassed, and honestly, who would not be? Derrick asks if he needs food. Thomas admits he is literally starving. And just like that, a campfire blazes to life. They roast the wolf for dinner. Never waste free meat, right? He even hands the kid some glowing magic water. What a gentleman. Thomas chugs it like his life depends on it. But then he stops mid-gulp, looking like he suddenly remembered something huge. Meanwhile, Derrick tries to access his classic meditation skill. It is a massive part of his power. So he just casually buys it from the new system for 1 single point. Instantly, a notification pops up about merging dormant skills. A massive energy surge zaps Derrick while Thomas just assumes he drank way too fast. Derrick grabs his head tight. The system confirms the merge, and his veins literally feel like they are burning alive. His meditation skill returns, but jumps straight to level 20. It upgrades into greater meditation. You know what this means, right? All his broken, overpowered skills are still dormant inside him, just waiting to be unlocked again. A truly terrifying grin spreads across his face. He is about to become stronger than ever. Meanwhile, Thomas is seriously regretting doing a walking haircut with magic clippers. But Derrick just tells him to keep cutting already. Carrying both dinner and the kid on his shoulders, he reminds Thomas about their deal. He needs world intel for a safe journey home. Thomas reluctantly agrees, still buzzing away at his hair. He explains how this great system is supposed to be totally fair, granting classes and skills everyone should be thankful for. Except, that is a complete lie. The system is completely rigged. Nobles abuse it to gain massive power and keep everyone else chained down. They basically cheat farming experience from caged monsters to stay untouched. Thomas gets visibly angry. He reveals the nobles are the reason his parents are gone, tears welling up in his eyes. Lost in rage, he accidentally slips with the clippers. He instantly starts begging for mercy. Derrick jokes he will not kill him until he checks the haircut. Very reassuring, right? After grabbing a mirror, our guy declares it decent enough. Thomas gets to survive today. The next morning, a gorgeous sunrise breaks as Derrick tries shaking the kid awake. He gives Thomas a little shake to snap him out of it. Now, carrying the kid again, he spots a ruined shack and asks what happened here. He asks for directions to the village, staring at a completely busted signpost. Thomas, half asleep, points toward a town called Rainesville. But suddenly, Derrick goes wide-eyed. He just spotted something absolutely horrible. But Thomas jumps off, sprinting and yelling for a Mr. Jones. He runs straight past a massive pool of gore. Yeah, that is definitely no welcome mat. The kid bursts inside, still calling out. But he finds Mr. Jones absolutely lifeless on the floor. And trust me, that is no simple trip and fall accident. So what do we make of this? A brutal murder scene. Thomas just freezes, completely horrified by it. Derrick puts a hand on his shoulder, trying to offer comfort. He asks if that was his grandpa. But Thomas says no, just a really kind old man. Stick with me here. This kid is completely losing his mind over a level 30 getting wrecked. Derrick, with absolutely zero chill, asks if level 30 is supposed to be impressive. Thomas screams back that he should be untouchable out here. Our main guy just crosses his arms. Are you really sure about that? Then he drops the bomb. That wolf he just killed, level 53. Thomas instantly calls Cap, yelling that it is straight up impossible. But then the terrifying realization hits him. If that is true, they need to warn the village immediately. Derrick grimly wonders if the kid even has a home left. Meanwhile, deep in the woods, a bizarre green orb pulses with energy. It hums with pure malice, pulling things from the dark. Sure enough, a rotting zombie wolf creeps toward it. The beast sniffs the glowing orb, completely clueless it is a trap. That mangled face proves its undead life has been incredibly rough. Snarling, it decides this glowy ball looks like a tasty snack right as a massive skeletal horror materializes behind it. This lich does not even blink. It just slams the wolf down, its shadowy body shuddering while it drains the creature's entire essence. Sickly green energy drips from its jaw. A super messy eater revealing a full-blown undead nightmare looking for its next meal. Now watch closely because this peaceful vibe is about to get shattered. We cut to a heavy basket of hides moving through town. A woman asks little Brandy if the load is too heavy. But the kid proudly puffs her chest, saying she has totally got it. She unlocked her system. Her mom beams with pride, even while Brandy's legs shake under the massive weight. Walking together, Mom suggests asking Dad for some leather. This gets Brandy incredibly hyped to level up her leatherworking skill. Her mom just smiles casually, suggesting she could even help skin the animals. Brandy immediately looks absolutely traumatized at the thought of skinning anything. Her mom just stares back, completely baffled by her daughter's panic. Flashback to 2 weeks ago. Her dad giving the classic "You are 13 now, time to pull your weight" speech. His special treat for her system unlock a level 10 monster, which happens to be an adorably fluffy fox sniffing a tiny flower. Yeah, she really did not handle her first kill well at all, instantly regretting everything. Mom admits dad probably should not have picked the absolute cutest animal in the forest. That memory is clearly still haunting both of them. Back to the present, dad sprints into town screaming at them to run to the gates. He yells that monsters are attacking way stronger than anything they have ever faced. Brandy sees he is heavily wounded and sheer panic starts setting in. He tells her to listen to her mother. Zero time for explanations. With the village burning, he turns toward the threat, ordering them to run. You and I know what comes next. He stays behind, shouting his love while the entire village gets absolutely torched. As they frantically flee, Brandy sobs, asking if dad will survive. Mom forces a brave face, desperately trying to convince them both he will live. Meanwhile, the village chief is busy rallying the other survivors. He gives a super confident thumbs up, promising that the hunters will catch up very soon. Mallory clutches her daughter, repeating that everything is totally fine, which obviously means it definitely is not. Back with the villagers, a massive claw smashes the ground. Dad turns around with a colorful curse, realizing a giant snarling wolf is right there. The whole area instantly explodes into a bloody massacre. Mallory desperately grabs Brandy, sprinting right past the body of a dead hunter. This poor kid is totally shell-shocked by the pure horror, especially since these zombie wolves look incredibly messed up. This one literally has its brain exposed. Mom makes a stand facing the monster down with a spear. The chief screams at her to grab her daughter and run. As the wolf pounces, she yells one last time for Brandy to escape, but Brandy is just completely paralyzed by fear. So Mallory aggressively shoves her spear right into the beast's jaws, desperately straining to hold it. As even more of these freaky undead wolves start closing in, she gets violently pinned to the dirt. Her only thought, buying Brandy enough time. She is 100% prepared to die as long as her baby gets away. Brandy finally snaps out of it and runs sobbing hysterically. But then she slams face first into a mysterious, fully armored figure. It is Derrick carrying Thomas on his shoulders, casually asking if they need help. Then Thomas, with awful timing, complains about them stealing his experience points. Brandy, still on the ground, just hysterically begs for her life. Seriously, read the room, Thomas. A hunter finally reaches Brandy, asking if she is okay after spotting the smoke, but she just screams for anyone to save her mom from the wolf. Derrick, with maximum chill, just says okay. He casually flicks a tiny bit of energy into the air. He points his finger like a literal gun, firing a casual light beam that instantly blows the monster's head clean off its shoulders. Mallory is just left standing there, drenched in blood and completely stunned. So, what do we learn here? Never mention experience points. To a furious mom, Derrick suggests fighting for experience, and she absolutely loses it. Alright, stick with me here. Our guy just cracks his knuckles, thinking this is fun right as the pack lunges. His eyes flash bright, completely unfazed by their coordinated deadly strike. He effortlessly catches a massive claw one-handed, stopping the beast cold, while another wolf closes in for the kill. Derrick just leaps straight up, letting the mutts crash into each other. His gauntlet glows, charging a massive counterattack. From above, he dives down, claws extended, a total blur of motion weaving right between them. Boom! An energy-infused strike slams right into a wolf's face. Pure deadly focus. Standing over the bodies, he realizes he was wrong. That was not fun at all. Derrick scoffs. These wolves were pathetically weak. Brandy runs sobbing straight into her mother's arms. Mom tries reassuring her about dad, but the kid is not convinced. Mallory knows her husband is tough, but nowhere near as strong as this armored stranger. She thanks him, but immediately demands to know who he is. Our guy deflects, patting Thomas, calling him a useless guide. The kid is totally panicking about his village, but Derrick coldly reminds him the deal was a ride home, not a charity mission. Besides, he brutally adds their village is probably just a smoking crater now. The mother immediately asks what he knows about the forest, wondering if he is an official investigator. His response, a blunt, unhelpful no. But Thomas grabs his arm, begging him to help. Our armored warrior stops him cold. He clarifies it is not them helping, he would be doing all the actual fighting while Thomas just begs. Their contract was simple. A life for some information, absolutely nothing more. Now watch this closely. He asks a terrified Thomas if he knows the real secret to surviving this nightmare. Cue the dark flashback. Derrick reveals he only relies on himself. His core philosophy is brutally simple, absolutely no heroes. A trauma montage flashes by proving that playing the good guy always ends in disaster. Thomas just grits his teeth. He is completely powerless against that twisted, ice-cold logic. Thomas screams that strong people should just help, but Derrick scoffs, calling that the naive logic of a child. The kid uselessly smacks his armor, yelling that nothing can even hurt him. He finally breaks down, calling him a jerk. Derrick calmly agrees. Exactly, I am a jerk. He gives a whole speech, heroes die but jerks live to see tomorrow. What a role model. He effortlessly catches the boy by the fist, stopping him cold. He tells him to be a jerk, get strong, then play hero. Thomas just glares, totally outmatched and outargued. For a second, Derrick admits it is a harsh lesson he sometimes forgets he can bend. Then he casually lifts the kid up, plopping him right back onto his shoulders. Thomas is just sitting there, completely confused. With new resolve, Derrick announces they are going to save whatever is left. Thomas is stunned by the 180-degree turn, completely speechless. Back in the burning town, a massive zombie bear roars out over the flames. Bry's dad stands as the absolute last line of defense with just a spear. The nightmare beast lunges, glowing red eye locked onto its target. Its massive claw comes crashing down in a devastating energy-infused swipe. The lone hunter faces the overwhelming attack head-on. Meanwhile, Derrick walks through the burning ruins, giving Thomas a very grim life lesson. You and I both know this is harsh. He forces the kid to look at the bodies. A brutally simple welcome to reality. This is what happens when you are weak. He makes it completely clear this is not a rescue mission. It is just a body count. Suddenly, Thomas stops him, sensing something else nearby. Derrick tells him to wait, hearing a faint groan coming from under the rubble. His eyes narrow, locking onto the sound. It is a survivor, the village chief, pinned down and bleeding out fast. Thomas, ever the little hero, sprints forward to help, but Derrick immediately yells at him to get back. The chief is completely shocked to see the kid, who insists they came to save everyone. Spotting a body nearby, the chief asks if it is Bry's dad, confirming the man fought bravely, but is gone. Thomas stares in pure horror. The chief declares nobody will make it, explaining they do not have a healer strong enough for these fatal wounds. Derrick actually considers using his last resurrection potion from his magic storage bracelet, but his inner jerk immediately kicks in. Nope, he might need it for himself later. As Thomas catches the scent, confirming it really is Bry's dad, Derrick gets another idea. He decides he will at least give this broken family a real chance to say goodbye. Elsewhere, Mallory is a complete wreck of tears and terror. Brandy kneels right over her father's battered body, begging him not to die. With his final breath, her dad reaches out weakly, whispering Bry's name. He says, "Be strong." A final "I love you" as he fades. You and I definitely felt that heartbreak. Alright, stick with me here, you are about to see this get wild. He vanishes, leaving them kneeling in dirt and despair. Brandy begs him to stay, totally shattered. Her mom can only scream, entirely broken by this absolute nightmare. The scene cuts to a quiet river, a tiny break from all the horror. Nearby, a hunter tells Derrick they need to move once the family finishes grieving. Poor Thomas is just crying silently. The kid is completely wrecked. Derrick, with zero emotional intelligence, just tells him he will get used to it. Wow. The hunter immediately grabs his arm, furious at such a horribly cold thing to say. He gets right in Derrick's face, demanding to know who he actually is. This guy knows Derrick is not a local, and he refuses to let Thomas go with a random stranger. But our boy, he looks totally unfazed by the threat. Surprisingly, Thomas steps in, saying Derrick is right. He admits he has lost people before, flashing back to when his own parents vanished. Heartbreakingly, he confesses he is just jealous they even got to say goodbye. With all that drama settled, the three finally walk away from the burning village. Derrick pulls up his system window to check his daily notifications. He has tons of elimination confirmations, and boom, he hit a huge milestone, level 10. Time to pick a class. His jaw literally drops because these options are absolutely insane. First up is Shadow Brawler, a rare class for maximum edgy main character vibes. Then there is Chaos Glaive, an epic class with an incredibly angry scythe, and Eternal Guardian featuring a literal flaming phoenix. This lineup is completely stacked. Now pay attention here, this is where everything changes. Derrick stares at the insane lineup, but as he looks closer, he realizes something is completely off. A sudden memory of the survivors flashes by, and he starts sweating. He is actually trembling, completely baffled by what the system is doing. Then a fourth hidden option appears, Champion of the Void, an epic class just for him. Instantly, he is dragged right back into memories of that endless, hungry darkness he escaped. Remembering it was not a teacher but a brutal monster that endlessly tortured him. The very ground shattered under it, leaving him completely broken and entirely consumed by the awful emptiness. But his big reward for surviving is a new rule. He will never be trapped again. He is in control. So when the system asks him to pick it, is not actually a real choice. It is pure destiny. Back in reality, he just screams as void power violently erupts from his body. The hunter instantly grabs Thomas, yelling to get far away from him. But Thomas just screams Derrick's name, while Leon desperately tries to drag the kid to safety. Our guy unlocks 2 brand new skills and immediately decides to test them out. Obviously he does. He focuses hard, crushing all that wild energy into a tiny perfect sphere of nothingness. And the storm just suddenly stops. Everyone is left wondering what on earth he has become while he immediately tests his skill. Void Call activates and a massive purple laser blasts down from the sky. Leon literally screams for the system to save them. but Derrick is just chilling right in the middle, looking way too happy. He is absolutely loving this new power, rocking a total maniacal grin on his face. That massive beam of pure void energy keeps pouring down. Thomas and Leon can only stare at it in absolute total shock. Even Brandy and her mom forget their intense grief for a second. That crazy light show carves a massive crater right into the ruined village. You and I know this is bad. Suddenly, his smug look vanishes at the portal. Because a massive, terrifying void beast is dropping straight from the sky, he just stares completely blown away by what he actually summoned. Leon turns to Thomas, basically asking where he found this absolute lunatic. Meanwhile, Brandy and her mom are still just desperately trying to process all the chaos. But our boy, he is just totally thrilled he got his own personal summon. This absolute beast of a monster lands with an earth-shattering crash. So he immediately decides to name the big guy Asher. Super creative. Then he starts critiquing its size like he is buying a new car. Leon is losing his mind, thinking Derrick has gone completely insane now. But Thomas realizes the real truth. Derrick is in control. Derrick points at his new pet monster to give an order, but Asher immediately blasts him with a wave of void energy instead. Leon aggressively drags Thomas back, screaming for him to stay away from the chaos as the beast's massive hand heavily craters the earth. Now wearing some slick void armor, Derrick tells his summon he has to defeat it. Truly a great start to a beautiful friendship. This rogue void monster just stands there, looking entirely and completely unimpressed. Face scratched up, Derrick yells at the others to run away. Leon absolutely does not need a second invitation, instantly sprinting away with Thomas in tow to escape the fight. Derrick's eyes glow with intense power, a silent warning that nobody should interfere now. He tries scanning the beast, but the system denies it since it is not theirs. A quick flashback shows he barely survived, scratching a similar monster in the past. Trust me, watch this. As Asher lunges with ground blasts, Derrick dives from above. Stick with me, we are diving into a brutal clash against snapping jaws where one mistake equals death. Asher erupts with a massive wave of void energy. Our guy is left absolutely speechless. This beast just blocked his strike, barehanded. Out of absolutely nowhere, a mysterious spearman crashes the party. He stares down the monster, firing back an epic blast of holy light. Derrick is just chilling on the dirt, completely baffled. He has no clue what is happening or how this newcomer is moving that fast. The rogue spearman smoothly deflects the explosion, giving our grounded hero some major déjà vu. But the crazy impact still sends Mystery Man flying. The sheer shockwave absolutely rocks him, leaving him coughing up blood in the rubble. Barely recovering, he glances up. Big mistake. Asher is charging a massive attack, sending a giant void laser screaming right at him. Boom! The poor spearman gets ruthlessly pancaked into the dirt, completely helpless to dodge. Meanwhile, Derrick watches his health drop below 20%, forcing him to trigger a desperate meditation state. Pinned to the ground and struggling against the monster's weight, the spearman throws out one desperate wild stab. He aims for damage, but Asher casually snatches the weapon away, then smashes the guy into the earth, his health absolutely plummeting. This one-sided beatdown is just savage, draining his life with every single strike. Off to the side, a horrified Thomas can only scream out for Derrick. Now watch this closely. Leon is panicking, screaming at Brandy to run. As Asher charges up, Derrick can only pray they survive this nightmare. A terrifying orb of pure void energy forms, and our main character knows he is cooked. The blast hits point blank, overwhelming his regeneration skills. That red health bar just keeps dropping, hitting the ultimate danger zone. Back in the mess, the spearman's armor finally shatters. But laying there battered and bleeding, Derrick finally catches the perfect opening. Suddenly, a glowing system notification pops right up. His skills are literally fusing together. Judging by the agonizing screams, it hurts. Meanwhile, Asher is basically using him as a glorified floor mat. Boom. The skill merger succeeds, rocketing his weapon mastery to level 20, though honestly, the monster looks totally bored by the flashy upgrade. The spearman's newly awakened power explodes upward, and both fighters violently trade heavy blows. Amidst a wild explosion of raw energy, the mystery man dashes in again, looking ridiculously confident. Eyes glowing bright, he is locked in and ready to end this. He swings for a direct hit, pouring every ounce of strength into slicing Asher's hand. He pushes harder, but total fail. That blade cannot even scratch the beast. You and I know the golden rule. Derrick realizes he must fight void with void. Deciding to fully embrace his inner edgelord, he activates his new powers, infusing his own weapon with that wildly destructive dark energy. Glaring at his rogue summon with pure determination, he strikes, but Asher just casually swats it away. Like no, it was absolutely nothing. Our boy gets launched across the battlefield in a purple flash but magically lands on his feet perfectly balanced. A slow, confident smirk spreads across his face. He finally found the weakness. Out of nowhere, the spearman is standing over the dead beast, calling it fun. Absolute psycho. The system rewards his crazy stunt with massive achievements and insane level-ups. Meanwhile, in a fancy mansion somewhere, an urgent knock echoes. A nervous messenger runs in, telling his boss she really needs to see this report. It details an abnormal portal signature. She casually asks her butler if it was a void beast, finding the confirmation super interesting over dinner. Flashing an icy glare, the red-haired woman gives one simple order: send a hunter back immediately. Back with the villagers trekking through the woods, a woman suddenly gasps, spotting a familiar face. It is Chief Leon. He made it back to his family, offering a tiny beacon of hope. But the happy vibes vanish when someone asks about the others. Leon just stutters, completely paralyzed by the sheer tragedy. You can literally see him breaking inside. The guilt and raw grief in his eyes absolutely crushing. It speaks volumes. Choking back tears, he finally drops the brutal truth. There is nobody left. Pure horror washes over the survivors. Mentally, Leon is still standing among the dead, wishing he died too. Suddenly, Thomas snaps him back to reality, sprinting over to yell that Derrick survived. Derrick, playing the ultimate cool guy, asks if Thomas seriously thought he would die. A flustered Thomas just awkwardly mumbles how glad he is. Derrick approaches Brandy and her mom, offering quiet condolences before revealing he actually saved her husband's body. He kept it safe in his magic bracelet for a proper burial. The mother is completely floored. She tearfully thanks him. He gives a stoic nod. Trust me, you and I want to see what happens next. Stick with me here, you and I are jumping right into the aftermath. The survivors are camping out, huddled around fires, knowing nowhere is actually safe. Leon just stares into the flames, looking totally broken. His eyes are reflecting the fire, just full of pure exhaustion and grief. Meanwhile, Thomas finally asks Derrick how he beat that void beast. And Derrick, mid-bite, he casually lies, saying it just got bored and flew off. Absolute Chad energy. Thomas is not buying it for a second. He says the legends are way worse, flashing back to the absolute nightmare fuel they actually fought. Mallory chimes in, saying beating a void beast is basically impossible. So Derrick tries to play it off, hinting he just summoned a super weak one. Derrick decides to never use that skill again. When Thomas calls them legendary, our boy with a mouthful of food just mutters that legends are totally overrated. The next morning, Mallory rallies the whole group to move toward a town called Reina. This whole sad procession of survivors begins their long journey. Suddenly, little Brandy tugs on the arm of Derrick to get his attention. She asks if she can have the animals he is carrying, specifically the ones she overheard him talking about hiding inside his magic bracelet. So Derrick casually pulls a rabbit out of a magic portal, as you do, and hands it over to a super grateful Brandy. He is totally confused about why she wants them though. A quick flashback shows her happy memories with her dad, who absolutely loved animals. Crying, she explains she is a leather worker now. She wants to make armor to protect everyone, hoping to prevent what happened to her smiling dad. Derrick just listens quietly, and you can tell her story hits him hard. He tells her she can have every single animal he has got. Our boy actually has a heart. Meanwhile, at the town gates, some official is tapping his fingers. Bored out of his mind. This guy complains about his awful day and missing his scented bath. Yeah, a real tragedy. From his high perch, he tells the survivors no ID means no entry. This immediately sends Mallory into pure rage. She yells at him to grab the person in charge. But this guard is loving the drama, saying it is the most fun he has had all day. What an absolute winner. Leon gets pushed to speak up as the village chief, but he is still totally broken. He feels he failed everyone, losing any right to the title. Brandy just begs at the gate, crying that they have absolutely nothing left. But the guard smugly repeats no ID, no entry, citing a graceful decree. At that moment, Derrick steps right up, eyes glowing. Now watch closely, things are about to escalate. Derrick asks the guard what happens if he just decides to break the rules. Mallory is horrified, thinking he is actually about to murder this guy. But the smug noble just eggs him on, claiming it would make his trip worthwhile. Mallory quickly grabs Derrick, begging him to stop saying that killing a noble is a terrible idea. The guard just scoffs, totally disappointed he does not get a fight. But suddenly the massive town gates swing wide open, interrupting the whole standoff. A new voice demands to know what is going on. It is the town chief, Reina, standing next to some noble kid named Wallace Gracefall. Reina immediately asks Mallory what happened, mentioning they actually saw smoke coming from her village. Hearing the absolutely tragic news, she immediately offers them all a safe place to stay. Then she glares at Wallace, telling him to control his thugs because these people are her problem now. A super grateful Mallory accepts, and Reina invites them inside. But she whispers a warning: there is a different kind of beast inside these walls. Mallory spots a huge, intimidating hunter who fits that description perfectly. Wallace, meanwhile, is absolutely furious, accusing Reina of undermining his authority. She just instantly shuts him down, telling him to do his job and she will do hers. So he threatens to squash her and the villagers like bugs for shaming his noble house, only to realize she is not backing down at all. His bluff is a total bust. Now I know what you are thinking. Is Derrick leaving since his contract is over? Nope. He definitely decides to stick around to see how this plays out. Reina invites Derrick inside, saying any friend of the survivors is completely welcome. A little surprised by the nice offer, Derrick agrees to head in, but as he walks past, Reina senses something is totally off. She is picking up on his insane aura, and it is literally making her sweat. Meanwhile, inside another room, an old couple is waiting impatiently. This grandma is clearly not in a relaxing mood at all. Tapping her foot, she snaps at her husband. She is worried sick about their missing grandson, Thomas. Just then, the door creaks open, completely startling them both. When Reina walks in, the grandma immediately demands to know what was so important. But her whole attitude shifts the second she sees who is behind her, because it is Thomas running straight for them. He crashes into the open arms of his grandma for a massive, tearful hug. This poor woman is just totally overwhelmed with pure relief. The whole family gets in on a group hug, finally, safely reunited. So where does that leave us? Reina walks in, asking if that was important enough. Derrick and Thomas share a quick, grateful look. Stick with me here, the reunion is wrapping up. Thomas is getting totally smothered by his grandma, and our boy tells everyone to sit down for a real talk. Reina wastes zero time staring Derrick down and flat out admitting she knows he is their hero. She actually bows her head, showing massive respect and gratitude. Meanwhile, Thomas gets that super embarrassing grandpa head ruffle classic family stuff. But Derrick, he totally brushes it off, telling them to drop the stiff formalities right now. Reina steps up as chief, declaring her absolute duty to protect her people. Her fists clench hard, she is about to drop some heavy news. She looks him in the eye and admits if he expects payment, they are completely broke. The town is stretched to the absolute maximum limit. And yeah, scumbag nobles like Wallace paying literal pennies definitely does not help the situation. Absolute garbage behavior. But Derrick just smirks. He is totally unbothered, calmly explaining he was strictly just returning a favor to Thomas. Simple as that. Moving on, he points out their actual huge problem, the forest. This immediately grabs Reina's attention, and she leans in, begging for his intel. Now watch closely, because our guy uses his old system knowledge and drops an absolute bombshell. Yep, they are dealing with a massive dungeon break. Time for a quick lore drop. Dungeons are the system's core, pumping out epic treasure, crazy power, and insane amounts of danger. Think of them as isolated worlds built purely to test and heavily reward adventurers. But if a dungeon rots or the system bugs out, absolute pure chaos. Monsters flood the real world, toxic energy corrupts the land, and utter nightmares get unleashed on innocent people everywhere. Reina immediately doubts the dungeon theory, but Derrick fires right back, who said new ones cannot randomly spawn. Thomas's grandpa thinks it over. He admits a new dungeon is super rare but totally possible. The old man's face goes pale. He suddenly realizes this is literally the only logical explanation. She checks with her advisor, who fully agrees it makes perfect sense. So Reina shifts gears, slamming a finger on the map and interrogating Derrick about his origins. But our boy completely dodges the question. He says he never told them and tries walking out. He even tells them to let the local nobles handle it. That is their job, right? Panicking, Reina yells for him to wait, freezing him right in his tracks. She confesses they are flat broke, praises his insane strength, swallows her massive pride, and officially begs for his help. Derrick lets out the heaviest, most world-weary sigh. He is totally over this. His answer, a brutal, ice-cold no, as he heads straight for the exit. Thomas stares at him, absolutely completely blindsided by the harsh rejection. Completely ignoring the leaders, Derrick orders Thomas to follow him. He casually mentions he needs to hand Brandy those extra monster pelts for his armor gear. And just like that, they vanish. The leaders are left awkwardly staring at a closed door. You and I both know the grandpa is right about him. Reina agrees, panicking because their only hero just walked out and they desperately need a plan. Spinning toward Leon, she points out that he basically spent the most time with this guy. She demands the Broken Chief's honest, unfiltered opinion on Derrick. Leon just stares blankly into the distance, seriously debating how to answer her. He lists the traits: sarcastic, moody, asks way too many questions. Reina leans in, super close, completely starving for the juicy details. Then Leon drops the craziest bomb ever. This guy literally summons the void itself. Meanwhile, Derrick and Thomas stroll through town hunting for Brandy. Our boy just wants to know where she is so he can dump these pelts. Suddenly, screaming from an alleyway catches their attention. It is Brandy, literally in a furious tug of war with that incredibly smug noble lady over a pelt. The noble violently yanks it free, looking disgustingly proud of herself. She totally taunts Brandy, using this as a pathetic excuse to challenge Reina's authority. Then she actually drapes the pelt on herself, bathing in her petty victory. Spinning around, she crashes right into Derrick, yelling at him to watch his step. But then she looks up and absolute pure terror completely paralyzes her face. Derrick just looms over her, eyes glowing violently. His single-word demand practically promises total doom. Right then, a sword violently stabs the dirt. Wallace is here screaming that this is unacceptable. He is seeing red. A commoner touching a noble. He demands immediate justice. Man, the absolute hypocrisy is insane. Wallace gets right in Reyna's face, ordering her to move immediately or else. But she holds her ground, absolutely forbidding him from starting a brawl here. Internally, Reyna is totally freaking out. Derrick arrived today and is already starting a massive war. And right then, she instantly realizes Leon was 100% right to fear him. Thomas tries comforting Brandy, who is just totally heartbroken over her ruined hard work. But Wallace is done talking. He screams, "So be it," and draws his giant sword. Before he even twitches, Derrick just snatches his wrist, stopping the guy dead cold. In a hilarious display of fake chivalry, Wallace literally yeets the noble lady straight at Derrick. Derrick calmly announces he is leaving. "Trust me, you're going to want to see what happens next." This totally crushes Thomas and his poor grandma. He literally promised that he would return. Let's jump straight into it, guys. A quick flashback shows Derrick handing the kid a small training blade, promising to return and telling him to train hard. But his final rule was huge. Do not unlock the system until he returns. Back to the present, Wallace flashes this insanely smug look. Backed by his whole goon squad, he calls out Derrick's name and confidently declares he is stopping him. Derrick immediately gets up in his personal space, offering to explain things using very small words. His warning is simple and brutal. Touch a villager again and he kills him. Absolute terror finally hits Wallace's face. Even his goons freeze completely. Just his sheer presence is overwhelming. The whole town feels it. Reyna, the villagers, everyone is just paralyzed by his terrifying aura. Our guy is radiating pure dread. His raw power is basically screaming danger. Barely holding it together, Wallace orders his men to leave. Walking away, Derrick suddenly remembers Thomas mentioning an achievement for fighting way above your level. Meanwhile, one of Wallace's goons is already stalking him from the trees, waiting to make a move. Now pay close attention here. This goon aims from the trees, feeling incredibly smug, but Derrick casually flicks the incoming arrow away. He is literally too busy checking his system window to look up. His stats are already completely stacked, plus he has 40 unspent points waiting right there. Another arrow zips past his face, finally catching his attention. The archer smugly thinks he actually forced a reaction out of him. Nope, Derrick knew he was being followed for an hour. He is literally using system windows as a shield while allocating stats. This casually unlocks 2 achievements, Jack of All and Meat Shield. Our boy is thrilled about scoring 2 free skills. Meanwhile, the archer is having a full-blown crisis, desperately convincing himself Derrick just got lucky. Denial is a powerful drug, so he fires off an even stronger arrow, and Derrick just snatches the thing out of thin air, bare-handed. He turns around looking so annoyed while picking a skill, and that is when the archer's tough guy act completely shatters. Survival instincts hit maximum overdrive. He just bails screaming nope as he sprints for his absolute life. Leaping through the woods, he wonders what kind of absolute monster he just provoked. He looks back, desperately praying he escaped, but Derrick is not even chasing. He is just chilling on a branch debating skill choices. The terrified archer totally eats a flashbang by the tree. And boom, Derrick is instantly behind him, literally workshopping his skill tree out loud. The absolute disrespect. This poor guy desperately tries to climb away. You and I both know climbing will not save him. But in pure panic mode, he tries his so-called ultimate move. Deadeye's Barrage sounds pretty epic, right? Well, our boy just stands there critiquing the name. He calls it lame while arrows literally rain down. The whole clearing just goes up in a massive fiery explosion. Catching his breath, the archer dares to think he actually won. He peers through the smoke desperately, hoping his monster problem got vaporized. Nope, Derrick is just sitting above him looking totally bored and almost giving him a pity stare. He casually explains he picked magic resistance right before smacking the absolute daylights out of this dude. Lesson learned, Derrick strolls away, leaving the humiliated goon to stumble all the way back to camp. A guard at the gate hears the commotion and calls out to the archer. Wallace's right-hand man rushes up asking if Derrick is dead. Jeffrey is an absolute wreck, crying that he could not even scratch the guy. That update sends pure dread across the commander's face. Wasting zero time, he orders everyone to pack up. They are heading back to Toth. Another noble is stunned, asking if they are seriously just running away. The commander deadpans, "No, we are just getting reinforcements." "Yeah, right, buddy. That is basically fleeing with extra steps." With the village safe, Derrick wanders into the woods to test his new skills. He starts by identifying a random rock. So thrilling, right? Until he finally spots an actual living creature. A fluffy little horned bunny. The system says it is level 54, which is kind of insanely high for a spiky cotton ball. He crouches down, acting all friendly, asking what it is doing. The rabbit just stares back with massive, innocent eyes. Derrick decides it is way too cute to fight, which is of course the exact second it tries to literally rip his face off. He barely dodges as the tiny monster rockets past. He is just completely stunned by this sudden, totally unprovoked violence. This thing bounces off a tree, looking completely furious. It flies back clearly, deeply offended by his very existence. Trust me, we are not ready for this pure bunny rage. Just look at that face. Alright, stick with me for this wild manhwa comedy. This tiny creature chooses pure violence. Derrick just smirks, wiping his lip. You really want to go? The fluffy rabbit lands growling, totally accepting the challenge. So Derrick cracks his knuckles. Fighting a bunny, sure, this is his life now. But then the little monster fires a literal laser beam from its horn. He dodges and weaves through a crazy barrage of attacks. Finally, he snags the tiny terror right out of the air. He holds this squirming ball of pure rage, calling it a daredevil. Right on cue, the bunny tries to bite his thumb clean off. The system dings with 26 damage, barely a scratch on his massive health bar. Derrick just laughs, totally unfazed by the fluffy creature's ultimate attack. But then a sudden thought wipes that smirk right off his face. He realizes that while it is a joke to him, a hit like that could have easily killed Thomas. Suddenly, this little monster does not seem so harmless anymore. He gently drops the angry cotton ball and walks away. He tells the psycho murder bunny it is not even worth the XP. Oh man, the bunny is absolutely fuming now. The disrespect is off the charts. Meanwhile, Derrick is back to business, browsing his skill tree for a brand new healing ability. He gets this super thoughtful, totally calculating look on his face. The system offers 3 choices: Cure Toxin, Life, Leech, and Rejuvenation. He skips the Poison Cure. Life Leech heals him when dealing damage, which is great. But Rejuvenation, a targeted heal for others, catches his eye as a solid option. Life Leech is clearly better for his own survival, but something makes him hesitate. After a second, he taps Rejuvenation. The skill unlocks, and his mind immediately jumps straight back to Thomas and the village. That triggers a massive wave of regret. Why pick skills for people he literally just left behind? Standing alone in the dark forest, he wonders why he even ran away to begin with. Processing his guilt, Derrick grits his teeth. He tells himself leaving was the only way to keep the villagers safe. Now pay attention here because things get weird. Right when the guilt is tearing him apart, something smacks him out of his brooding. He lands, and that psycho murder bunny is staring him down again. He asks if it is seriously holding a grudge because this is getting a little weird. In response, the bunny just turns itself into a furry, glowing cannonball. It zips right past him, absolutely demolishing some poor random wolf hiding in the bushes. That is the face of pure chaos and zero regrets. Derrick just watches in shock as the fluffy menace completely tears its helpless victim apart. It hops back, covered in gore. Our boy is questioning his entire understanding of biology right now. His final verdict: this bunny is a psychopath and a total idiot. The little monster just sits there looking insanely proud and covered in blood. So, with a heavy sigh, Derrick gives a thumbs up. He officially adopts the tiny terror. Let that sink in for a second. We are watching a grown man and his emotionally unstable, hyper-violent rabbit actually bonding over a campfire and fresh roast meat. Turns out the bunny provided dinner. It took down a boar the size of a small car. It earns a head pat, accepting it with maximum grumpiness. For a second, they are just 2 pals relaxing. Then the bunny senses more violence is needed and immediately launches itself right back into the fray. After a long night of questionable life choices, Derrick stretches out by the dying campfire. He officially names his new partner Murder Bunny, telling it to get a move on. The little monster, however, just plants itself on the ground and refuses to budge. Derrick turns back, totally confused by the sudden protest. It is a full-on standoff right in the woods. The bunny has not moved a single inch. Then it finally clicks for Derrick. They have reached the absolute edge of the bunny's territory. His fluffy sidekick confirms this boundary with a very dramatic and super angry foot stomp. With a wave, Derrick wishes it well, admitting it is the apex predator here anyway. He walks off. Their bizarre partnership was bound to end eventually, right? But being completely alone again sends his thoughts spiraling right back into guilt and self-doubt. The world around him warps. His inner voice reminds him he is not trapped. He is totally alone by choice. A self-imposed exile he is forcing himself through. Then suddenly, a glowing green orb materializes nearby, snapping him right out of his dark funk. His mood shifts to pure focus. He uses Identify on the strange object. The system flags it as a level 100 Undying Dungeon. An absolutely insane challenge. He knows a high-level achievement is waiting inside, but he is not taking the bait. After his last ordeal, he refuses to risk getting trapped in another unknown space. He decides to head back to the village, completely unaware of the massive armored beast creeping right out of the portal. He turns away, completely missing the dungeon boss, lunging to flatten him. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, you want to see what happens next. Stick with me, you are about to watch Derrick greet this deadly ambush like an old friend. The system scans a level 115 acidic ghoul, and honestly, it is exactly what he needed today. He has been bottling up so much rage and just needs to swing at something. Luckily, this screaming, bony nightmare is volunteering for some serious therapy by violence. Powering up with crackling energy, Derrick is totally ready to vent. The monster lunges fast, aiming to turn him into pure liquid goo, but our boy meets the strike head-on. Zero hesitation, absolutely no fear in sight. One clean slice rips the ghoul's arm right off. Derrick starts mocking it immediately, asking if that weak move is really its best shot. The gross arm regenerates instantly. Still, Derrick is completely bored by this level 115 boss. Suddenly, some mysterious red-haired guy appears out of thin air. The ghoul pivots instantly, its body glowing hot with a brand new red-tinted rage. This newcomer casually blocks the monster's heavy strike. He looks totally unfazed while Derrick slides back. The ugly ghoul admits he is way stronger than expected. Derrick wipes off a few fresh scrapes, his face hardening into absolute focus. He powers up again, flashing a wild grin while calling this actual fun. Leaping high into the sky, he prepares to crash his spear down with maximum force. But the ghoul counters fast, firing a massive acid beam from its mouth. Derrick slices that beam clean in half without sweating at all. He pushes straight through the deadly blast to end this fight right now. He barely holds his ground, gritting his teeth against the sheer insane force. Channeling his own intense power, his eyes glow bright for a brutal counterswing. Now watch closely. The monster fires a chest beam, but Derrick is already dropping from the sky. His spear connects hard. The blow shatters the monster's skull face entirely, sending the massive boss flying backward from the sheer impact alone. Staring it down, Derrick casually mocks its level 115 status. The disrespect is absolutely real. His armor melts right off from the acid. Looking annoyed instead of hurt, he seriously asks if this is the best the world system can offer him. He grips his spear tightly. It immediately starts crackling with some intense purple energy. Flashing a terrifying grin, he warns the ghoul not to make him laugh. That look of pure, insane confidence actually makes the scary monster tremble in fear. Derrick finally unleashes a massive energy beam straight out from his glowing weapon. It completely obliterates the entire battle zone in a blinding pillar of light. The system chimes, confirming the kill. The experience gain is so huge he levels up instantly. Actually, he jumps 3 levels and unlocks the Greater Giant Slayer achievement. After the dust settles, Derrick stands inside his smoking electrified crater. He notices the ground is still bubbling with that highly corrosive acid. We both know this is bad. One quick look down confirms his armor is entirely ruined. Sighing heavily, he just stores the busted gear away, hoping to get it fixed someday. Tossing his shirt aside, he realizes he should have packed clothes back on Earth. He equips a basic tunic, looking totally disgusted by the local fantasy fashion choices. Still covered in monster grime, Derrick stands there deeply debating his current wardrobe crisis. Meanwhile, back in the village, 2 weeks have passed and things seem surprisingly peaceful. Thomas is laser-focused on his new craft, acting like a true master. His current masterpiece, giving a villager a fresh fade using a pair of electric clippers. Totally normal tech for a fantasy world, right? The happy customer checks out his fresh new look and is absolutely stunned by the amazing results. He is so pumped up that he promises to send more business Thomas's way. Brandy, however, is completely unimpressed, especially when Thomas jokingly offers her a trim. Her terrifying death glare and sharp needle make her thoughts perfectly clear. Thomas immediately surrenders on the spot with his hands high in the air. When the awkward tension dies down, he asks what is wrong. She sighs, admitting she finally ran out of those monster materials Derrick left behind. Her crafting supplies are totally depleted, leaving her stuck waiting. This makes Thomas hope Derrick returns soon to unlock his system. But Brandy dryly reminds him his last combat attempt involved fighting a tiny frog. In his defense, Derrick strictly told him to find a cooler first kill than a level 7 amphibian. They both stare at the horizon, praying for Derrick's safe return. Suddenly, the scene shifts to another village, and it is completely wrecked and smoking. A mysterious figure in a long trench coat steps forward, silently surveying the massive destruction. Standing at the site of Derrick's recent battle, the cloaked stranger traces the lingering energy. They quickly identify the distinct signature of a void beast. But a second power reading makes them clench their fist. Someone else was definitely here. A quick energy trace reveals the killer's path leads right away from the crater. It points directly toward the village as the stranger starts giving chase. Meanwhile, our guy Derrick is casually strolling through the woods. Still salty about his gear, he suddenly freezes in his tracks. And trust me, you and I are going to love this. His absolute psycho of a bunny sidekick apparently ignored the order to stay behind. Stick with me, this little monster is throwing another epic foot-stomping tantrum. Derrick honestly wonders if it followed him out of pure love right before snatching the furball midair to completely shut down another wild murder spree. Holding the squirming menace, he reminds it he needs a high-level monster for his quest. Flashing a wicked grin, he tells the bunny it looks like the absolute perfect candidate. Yep, the true face of tiny terror. Finally, getting the whole concept of fear, Derrick lays down some new rules. It can totally tag along. But it is banned from the village. He asks if it speaks English while it sprouts a tiny demon tail in pure rage. Our guy sighs completely over this rabbit's chaotic vibe. He sets it down with a final whatever, dropping the lecture. Telling the little idiot to follow, they head off. Derrick decides his murder pet seriously needs a proper name, because idiot is getting old. The little monster actually seems absolutely thrilled by the idea, happily hopping along. Chilling by the campfire, he brainstorms some totally unfitting cute names like Snowball. But a sudden bloody flashback makes him instantly rethink that choice. Because, yeah, the name Bella does not exactly capture the vibe of mauling a level 59 undead bear. He tries again, but Beza Bunny is just way too on the nose. Then pure inspiration strikes. Watch closely now, there is a cheesy anime glow. A knighting ceremony for a blood-soaked rabbit. The chosen name is Sylvie, which it happily accepts. And with that finally settled, Derrick tells Sylvie to find more things to headbutt. A week later, the dynamic duo finally approaches the village bridge. Right at the entrance, he holds up a chipmunk, telling Sylvie this is exactly where they part ways. Since letting a pint-sized killing machine into town is a terrible idea, he tells it to wait in the forest for a few days. He promises to return, even offering the chipmunk as a travel buddy if it behaves. Honestly, a terrible, terrible offer. For a split second, he shares a sweet moment with the critter, saying he will miss it. Right before Sylvie launches itself like a furry cannonball, totally obliterating the poor thing, Derrick just screams at the psychopath. Shattering a huge tree on impact while holding the deceased level 50 chipmunk, he instantly regrets not letting Thomas get this epic kill instead. Finally, at the gate, he casually waves to the guard, pretending absolutely none of that just happened. The guard on duty asks who he is, and Derrick casually introduces himself from way down below. Telling the guy to ignore the gate, he instantly crouches down for a massive leap. You saw that right. Our boy parkours over the wall, leaving the guard stunned, landing on the walkway without a single hint of a stumble. The guard almost topples over in pure shock, but Derrick catches him with zero effort. He even compliments the guy's fresh fade, clearly Thomas's handiwork. After a quick thanks, Derrick hops down inside the village walls and immediately starts shouting for Thomas, loudly announcing his grand epic return. Thomas comes literally tearing through the street. Nearly taking out a random villager, he actually shoves Brandy out of the way in a mad dash to greet his hero. This kid immediately starts bragging about leveling up his leather work and mastering those clippers. He asks about the high-level hide he was promised and begs for a knife. He is literally begging for a pat on the head. Derrick's face screams, "What did I create?" Brandy shoves the fanboy aside, completely done with this hero worship. They just stand there picking their noses, true respect. Derrick sighs at the antics, pinching both noses to grab their attention. He promises Brandy a knife and tons of hides for practice, even dangling a special project as a sweet reward if she hits level 10 leatherworking. Turning back to Thomas, he asks if the kid is truly ready for what they discussed before. He pulls out a special gift from his bag featuring a surprisingly cute cat face on it. Thomas practically vibrates with pure joy as Derrick promises to unlock his system. Both kids are absolutely thrilled, celebrating the arrangement like absolute maniacs. But Derrick has one very important, completely non-negotiable question first. Where's the tavern? Moments later, a hand pushes open the door to exactly that spot. Our boy just breathes it in, declaring he missed that classic pub smell. He strolls inside, hoping this planet knows how to brew decent beer. While walking, he accidentally bumps straight into someone else. The collision catches him completely by surprise, offering a quick apology to a very mysterious cloaked patron. Suddenly, familiar purple energy flares to life. Derrick's senses instantly go on high alert, because the cloaked stranger's eye locks on with a targeting reticle. It is the tracker from before. Derrick plays dumb, but the stranger clarifies he is the what they tracked, not the who. Trust me, you and I are gonna love what happens next. Stick with me, you are about to see these guys realize he is not a void beast. And after Derrick confirms with absolute sass, they demand to know why he smells like pure void energy. Internally, he is so over this. But he plays dumb just to dodge any extra headaches. The archer starts a full interrogation about his level and origins, pointing right in his face and screaming liar. Huge mistake. Derrick just snatches their hand right out of the air. Tension spikes. He stares them down, asking what they would even do if he actually was one. The archer triggers their identify skill, desperate for answers. They try running a complete data scan on our boy, but the system hits back with a massive, glorious identify failed. Derrick points, asking if the interrogation is done so he can finally grab a beer. At the bar, the owner already knows his name. Word travels crazy fast. Meanwhile, the tracker is having an absolute meltdown. Realizing his level is off the charts, he orders a pint from Bart, the bartender. As the archer makes a very smart tactical retreat, Derrick just watches them leave. Bullet dodged right. Wrong. Here is the next major crisis. He is completely broke and cannot pay for the drink. So he offers a level 52 dagger. The bartender accepts it with pure holy joy. Bart is so hyped the drink is totally on the house. But a new arrival interrupts the deal, and Derrick turns around looking genuinely confused for the first time. It is Brandy. Apparently, she sent the bartender to offer him a free place to stay. She gives a little smirk. Stew is on the menu, a surprisingly wholesome bribe. So the two of them head out strolling right through the busy village streets. Brandy immediately asks what the hunter wanted, but Derrick totally brushes the whole thing off. She warns him to stay alert, revealing that the archer works for the crown. Derrick takes a sip, asking if she means the actual kingdom. Nope. The crown is a super powerful, independent organization operating right inside the kingdom borders. Now pay attention because this is wild. Their crest is a crown over utensils. Why? They are a deadly restaurant. Brandy explains this place is so ridiculously influential that nobles literally dream of getting memberships. Only the absolute richest and most powerful eat there. She teases him about their ultimate delicacy, an entire void beast served straight up on a silver platter. Derrick nearly chokes on his drink. The whole concept of eating one completely floors him. Apparently, a properly cooked void beast hands out absolutely insane stat bonuses. Derrick scoffs, thinking some must be weak. But she reminds him the weakest could level an entire town. The real issue, they are incredibly rare, only popping out of void portals. Cue a quick brutal flashback of a village getting absolutely wrecked. She shoots him a very pointed look, claiming she is sure he already knew all that. Our boy just sweats a little, totally caught in her trap. He quietly agrees as they keep walking toward her place. They reach a cozy house full of laughter and chatter. Derrick immediately proceeds to inhale that stew like a guy who has not eaten in a whole decade. He slams the bowl down, declaring it the absolute best thing he has eaten in years. Brandy gets completely flustered, insisting her cooking skill is only level 8. Grandpa agrees it is delicious, which almost gets him murdered by Grandma for comparing their cooking. Then Thomas chimes in. The kid is practically vibrating with excitement about unlocking his system. Derrick confirms it happens tomorrow if his grandparents approve. They give their blessing, knowing exactly how much the kid has been looking forward to this moment. I know what you are thinking, there is a catch. Thomas celebrates wildly, but Derrick ruins the mood with one condition. The big condition, he desperately wants a warm bath. So Thomas immediately bolts off to get the water ready, while the whole family just laughs. Grandpa chuckles at the blatant hero worship. Meanwhile, Derrick enjoys a super rare, quiet moment, just staring out the window. His peace is instantly shattered by Brandy poking his side, revealing she actually made something special for him. She holds out a small, handcrafted token as a nice thank you gift. She explains that working the hides helped her cope after losing her dad. Derrick looks genuinely touched, thanking her. Suddenly, Thomas bursts back in screaming for more wood for that all-important bath. Holding the gift, Derrick finally feels like he is not totally alone for once. Outside, Thomas is still yelling about bath politics, a true crisis. Suddenly, Derrick bolts out the door at maximum speed, snatching Thomas right up and tossing him over his shoulder. Carrying the kid, he flat out declares this spot is as good as any. He sets the terrified boy down to grab his focus. Derrick asks if he is ready, and instantly Thomas's fear morphs into pure joy. So he hands over a dagger with the classic dad warning, do not cut yourself. Derrick pulls a wriggling bag from his inventory. And trust me, you want to see this. His first mission, kill whatever is inside. Alright, you and I are back. Thomas grips his new knife stabs and boom, a massive light pillar erupts. The kid's system is finally online. Derrick casually asks how it feels to finally be a brand new system user. Thomas is absolutely losing his mind right now, having just one shot, a level 50 monster. Turns out that knife is a hand-me-down from the exact same master blacksmith who forged Derrick's glaive. Before going any further, Derrick drops a super serious question. He totally gets that Thomas wants to leave home and become an absolute beast. In a super rare, vulnerable moment, Derrick admits he is sick of riding solo and asks Thomas to team up. Thomas is completely floored by this. He is internally screaming about traveling with his literal hero, an absolute dream come true. He tries playing it cool, clearing his throat like he is not practically fainting from pure joy. So Derrick lays down rule number 1, keep his secrets completely hidden. Thomas instantly swears a lifelong oath, which Derrick finds hilariously extra. But the kid means business. Rule 2 is dead, simple train insanely hard and learn how to stand on your own. The third and biggest rule, if Derrick gives an order, you obey immediately. Thomas hesitates for 1 second, suddenly realizing what he just signed up for. Derrick quickly clarifies he is not a villain, just morally flexible for very good reasons. That is all Thomas needs. He is 100% locked in for the ride. Derrick officially welcomes his brand new apprentice to the squad. Their very first training session kicks off with one simple question, how many skill points? Thomas panics when Derrick says he will only have 1 left. 0 arguments allowed. First order, dump those precious points straight into meditation and identify. He explains these totally boring skills are actually crucial for surviving. Thomas still hates it, whining about how lame they are. But Derrick drops a treat that final point goes straight to his ultimate dream class. The kid desperately wants to be a ninja, so Derrick selects light weapons mastery. One single tap on the shiny system screen and his build is totally locked. For his stats, Derrick orders him to dump absolutely everything into vitality and endurance. Then he just bolts, leaving Thomas awkwardly asking if he is getting a piggyback ride. His answer, a massive cloud of dust. Yeah, that is a hard no. Derrick yells from the horizon that it is a race, and Thomas is already miles behind. Hours later, Thomas drags himself into the house, completely dead, face planting onto the floor. Meanwhile, some serious guy with a wicked scar explains a massive problem. His final conclusion is absolutely terrifying. The people he sent out are definitely dead. A woman demands details only to learn he deployed 50 silver-ranked adventurers on a single quest. But here is the wild part we need to see. A level 100 dungeon. That massive reveal sends pure shockwaves through the whole room. His eyes narrow sharply as he announces its official threat ranks solid gold. The guildmaster agrees to post a brand new quest, specifically targeting level 100 gold-ranked adventurers. Grandpa immediately sends Thomas scrambling to fetch a local map. A woman named Raina points out her village and nearby dungeons, including that nasty level 25 bug zone the Silver Party accidentally wandered right into. Derrick immediately chimes right in. He casually points exactly where an undead dungeon should be hiding, then politely asks to get a closer look at their current intel. Using a glowing pen, he draws in a new dungeon and asks for a copy. Handing the fixed map back to Raina, he suddenly drops a very personal question. He casually asks why she is stuck at level 31, fully admitting he just system scanned her without permission. She explains her ultra-rare Tempest Blade class is an absolute nightmare to level. Local mobs give totally garbage XP, and being the village chief ruins her daily grinding schedule. To make things worse, their local blacksmith crafts totally trash weapons that shatter if you just breathe on them. Her eyes lock onto a much nicer blade hanging on the wall. Derrick immediately yanks it down and tosses it straight into her hands. He invites her to join his and Thomas's training session tomorrow, which absolutely makes the kid's entire day. He tells her the sword is totally hers if she joins, asking if she uses magic. Completely stunned, she nods, realizing this crazy weapon is basically worth a literal fortune. Flashing a determined look, she fully accepts the deal. With everything settled, Derrick heads out to grab drinks with his brand new best buddy Bart, the bartender. I know what you are thinking. Meanwhile, some rich kid begs his daddy for reinforcements. The man from earlier harshly scolds his son Wallace for trying to terrorize some random tiny village. He loudly reminds him the village hired adventurers for a mess Wallace was supposed to fix. Honestly, his father is entirely done with this kid embarrassing the family name. Wallace desperately tries to protest, but the spoiled brat is clearly way out of his league. He gets brutally shut down with one single, completely non-negotiable order to leave immediately. The kid practically foams at the mouth, utterly humiliated. With a sharp turn, he storms out to obey reluctantly, deciding to handle this messy situation all by himself. Back outside, Derrick's intense training session with Raina finally kicks off, but she is highly skeptical. Our boy stands totally shirtless, smirking, telling her to attack. Trust me, you are going to want to see this. Stick with me here. He tells her to trust him. His biggest worry is saving his shirt, not his actual life. Taking his word for it, she charges her sword with this wild blue aura. She drops a massive slash, promising she'll hold back just a tiny bit. The attack flies straight at a completely unbothered Derrick. He literally just sidesteps the thing like dodging a slow beach ball. Watching from the sidelines, Thomas instantly regrets becoming an apprentice. Why? Because Derrick just casually punches the magic slash into absolute nothingness. Rhea is completely floored. It didn't leave a single scratch, and boom, Thomas is back to pure hero worship mode. Derrick just brushes it off, telling her to stop holding back. So with an absolutely deadly glare, Rhea prepares to unleash her maximum power, and she completely delivers, bringing down a genuinely massive magical slash. But cut to a few minutes later, she's totally out of mana, getting a hilarious condescending head pat. With her on cooldown, Derrick calls up his actual apprentice Thomas. The kid comes running, looking way too hyped for what's next, and Derrick lays out the brand new lesson. Pick a weapon and try to kill him. Naturally, Thomas is having a total mini panic attack at that insane request. Derrick just sighs heavily, reminding the kid that his weak little attacks won't even leave a scratch. Now watch closely. That ego check actually works. Thomas commits grabbing an axe and leaping forward while Derrick just casually waits. Then he switches up. Screaming a battle cry, Thomas charges in with a dagger, getting right up close for the kill. And he completely whiffs it. Just stabs empty air. The silence that follows is honestly so profoundly awkward for everyone there. Derrick brutally roasts him for missing a literally stationary target. His new advice for the kid, do not be sorry, be better. Thomas instantly swears to uphold that. He tries again, but this time he has a look of pure murderous intent. Derrick just aggressively face palms. He suggests a new weapon while Thomas whines about daggers, but quickly gets reminded of rule number 3. Do what I say and try the spear, and so begins several days of incredibly intense, definitely humiliating training for everyone. Turns out training Reina is literally just an excuse for Derrick to completely grind out his own magic resistance. Meanwhile, Thomas is still hilariously terrible with daggers. So bad that his OP master is actually feeling secondhand embarrassment for the guy. Hand him a sword or spear though, and he's actually super impressive. So Derrick starts hunting beasts to help him and the village level up fast. After a long training day, everyone enjoys a nice dinner together. This is where Grandpa explains that Thomas's weird dagger obsession comes from his dad. Our boy is too busy flexing for Reina to notice the serious chat. Grandpa confirms he just wants to be like the dad he tragically lost. You and I both knew this was coming. Thomas finally hits level 10, time to pick a class. Derrick gives one simple instruction. Be smart, do not just pick whatever looks cool. Thomas gives a super confident nod, acting like he totally gets it. He sits down to review his system screen options. For once, Derrick is actually genuinely hoping the kid pulls a great roll. He definitely earned it. With a look of absolute certainty, Thomas taps the screen, locking in his big choice. A burst of energy confirms it before Derrick can even speak. This kid proudly flashes his new daggers smugly, claiming he found the perfect option, which immediately makes Derrick pull a face that screams, "I have a seriously bad feeling about this." And boom, there it is. Thomas picked the rogue class like his dad. Derrick angrily asks if he seriously ignored rare classes just for a ghost. Thomas admits he saw rarer options on the screen, but he just couldn't shake the memory of how incredibly cool his dad was. Then Derrick drops the absolute coldest reality check. Your dad is dead and you completely suck with daggers. The kid looks absolutely gutted while Derrick questions even bringing him along anymore. Thomas immediately starts begging, literally clinging to his leg and desperately vowing to get stronger. Derrick isn't impressed at all. How can he trust someone who ignores orders? This just turns the kid's waterworks up to 11 as he loudly pleads. In a total last-ditch effort, he swears on the great system to keep all of Derrick's secrets. Crazy enough, the system actually responds. It locks him into a binding oath right there. The term's brutal. If he breaks it, he loses all his skills and classes forever. Shocked, Derrick asks why he'd do something so incredibly desperate. The kid just sniffs, saying he simply wants to follow him. So Derrick finally relents. But he drops a harsh warning, one single strike, and he's sent home for good. With all that drama settled, he tells Thomas to pack his bags. They are officially heading to his first dungeon. Meanwhile, a super fancy carriage is rattling toward a distant city. Inside, the exact reinforcements Wallace was crying to his daddy for. One girl is already complaining about returning to that absolute pigsty of a village, while her snooty companion whines about just getting the smell out of his hair. A third guy just hopes for a much better welcoming party. Just absolute peak entitlement. Wallace is sweating nervously in the corner until a guy finally snaps and tells everyone to shut up. That's where we leave it. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. The literal adult in this fancy carriage tells the whiny brats to pipe down, stick with me. He promises it ends soon while Derrick and Thomas hit a swirling green portal. Derrick explains the grand plan. Grind this level 25 dungeon right now before he actually gets too strong to enter. This should give his new apprentice a sweet XP boost. Poor Thomas, though, completely lost on what is happening. Derrick just smirks, reminding the kid they are here to clear this dungeon. The kid instantly panics, pointing out the massive level gap and asking how they enter. But Derrick casually brings up their binding secret oath. Why? Because he is about to reveal his first big secret. Boom, a system window pops up. Thomas is level 10 and Derrick is sitting at level 18. Thomas absolutely loses his mind, screaming, there is zero chance his master is actually that weak. Then the gears start turning. He realizes what this means and gets incredibly hyped, thinking they are about to absolutely steamroll every single newbie dungeon. But Derrick shuts that dream down with a wicked grin. He clarifies he is strictly here to watch. He shoves the kid into the portal before he argues. Total trial by fire. Now watch closely. They spawn into a dripping cave that screams terrible life choices, hitting a jungle where Derrick asks if he is ready. Predictably, Thomas is having major second thoughts about this entire situation. So Derrick points out the high-level daggers he is holding, reminding him that his fancy new armor should easily tank almost anything in here. His masterly pep talk, do not worry kid, I need to grind my healing skill anyway. Thomas is 0% reassured by this win-win scenario. His master promises a super fun time, casually ignoring the massive centipede lurking nearby. The fun instantly begins with a massive bug pinning him right to the ground, followed by another one chasing him while he runs for his life until a huge centipede totally wraps him up, forcing the kid to desperately stab at another monster while screaming for his master to help. Derrick finally steps up, slicing the bug in half with zero effort. A traumatized Thomas begs to know what part of that was fun. His master just tells him to relax since he is still breathing. Very low bar. Then he grabs his arm while Thomas whines it is broken. With a bright flash of green light, Derrick triggers his healing skill. Thomas is completely blown away that his arm is fixed. Derrick gives him a patronizing pat, ordering him back out there. Thomas just shoots him a look of pure dread. While his master flashes a cheerful thumbs up, Thomas just radiates this dark aura of heavy regret. A short while later, the kid is hiding in the bushes, stalking a brand new giant beetle, desperately trying to convince his brain that he can handle this solo. With a sudden burst of courage, he charges from the foliage for a surprise attack. The bug spots him instantly. So much for rogue training. You saw that coming, right? He lunges and misses completely. From the sidelines, Derrick just radiates pure disappointment. The beetle instantly punishes him with a massive smackdown, sending our boy tumbling brutally into the dirt. Towering over him, the monster screeches for the kill. But Derrick shouts to dodge, and Thomas actually rolls clear in time. His master drops a quick attaboy. Very encouraging. That hype lasts exactly 2 seconds before the bug charges him again. This time, Thomas blocks the horn with his arms. He is completely shocked to see his fancy new armor is actually holding strong. With renewed confidence, he finally decides he can actually pull this off. He jumps up, slicing clean through the beetle's leg. The massive monster shrieks as its limb flies off, giving Thomas the opening to leap on its back and drive his dagger home. He lands completely spent as the bug finally drops. Not pretty, but a win is a win. Total improvement. Derrick hauls him up and instantly starts the performance review. What was mistake number 1? Thomas awkwardly guesses that he swung way too hard, ruining his balance, but Derrick shuts that down. His first mistake, picking the rogue class and forgetting to use stealth. The question hangs there. Thomas realizes he completely forgot he even had that ability. His brain is just flashing error messages. The absolute weight of his boneheaded play sinks in. He desperately tries finding an excuse before just admitting out loud that he forgot his own main skill. Derrick is absolutely losing his mind. He asks how he forgot the one core ability of his class. Thomas just nervously sweats, confirming his brain went on vacation. With pure agony, Derrick realizes his apprentice is just a special kind of dumb. Meanwhile, back at the village, that fancy carriage finally rolls to a stop. Wallace's backup arrives and gets challenged. Trust me, we need to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are jumping straight into the chaos. The guard gets his answer via a massive energy blast right to the face, blowing the village gates wide open. The villagers completely panic, recognizing those entitled adventurers again. The whole arrogant crew struts right in, claiming they came to help, leading them. That white-haired guy flashing a seriously creepy fake hero smile. But Reyna steps up, weapon glowing bright. She questions their idea of help, her magic literally melting the fence right in front of her. Making it totally obvious their brand of aid is rejected, she points her weapon right at the leader. She orders Gracefall and his crew out, but his smug grin screams otherwise. Meanwhile, back in the dungeon, our next lesson kicks off against a giant, angry level 18 Spyron. Thomas barely dodges a massive leg swipe from the bug. But after days of grinding, he is level 17 now, and totally feeling it. His confidence is through the roof. He yells that he has got this, taking a flying leap and driving his dagger straight into its face. For one glorious second, he actually thinks he won. But that warning from Derrick to watch his back, yeah, a little too late. His victory lap gets cut short by another charging bug. He violently yanks his dagger, but it is completely stuck, unarmed and totally panicking. The monster closes in fast, but a sudden flash of blue light intercepts it. And just like that, Thomas is left on the ground completely out of the fight. Our boy instantly makes up excuses about needing a longer weapon. Finally, he just admits he is really not cut out for daggers. A huge breakthrough. Derrick appears effortlessly spinning that free dagger in his hand, proving his point yet again. He tosses Thomas a quick heal and a nice pep talk about his progress. Then, flashing a sly grin, he decides his apprentice is finally ready. They step up to the final boss room, absolutely crackling with energy. Now pay attention because we are going to love this fight. Derrick reviews the plan, stealth headshots, 0 mistakes. The massive boss doors swing open. The final boss, a massive mantis, and it instantly swings its giant, deadly scythe arm. But Derrick casually blocks it one-handed, shielding his stunned apprentice. Seeing this full-size nightmare up close, Thomas completely doubts he can actually kill the thing. Smirking, Derrick flips the script. He is going to hold it down. Thomas just has to land the killing blow. And boom, Derrick blasts forward, wrapped in blue energy, grabbing the massive boss right by the face and stopping its charge cold. Flashing a completely unhinged grin, he forces back its deadly scythes using pure, raw strength. He absolutely pile-drives its head straight into the stone floor. Pinning the bug with his foot, he tells Tommy, the rest is up to him. Our boy gives a firm nod, totally ready for his big moment. He rushes in, dagger raised, and drives the blade straight through the monster's skull. The giant scythe arm just goes totally limp. It finally dies, dissolving into particles of light and dropping a glowing dungeon core. The system window confirms the epic victory with a glorious boss defeated pop-up screen. Thomas is absolutely overjoyed, celebrating his very first clear and finally escaping this personal hell. Derrick says congrats, then instantly ruins it by saying it only gets harder from here. Classic. The master even adds a little dig, calling Thomas too slow for a second run. Thomas just sits there silently clutching monster loot, staring at his master, totally speechless after that crazy display. Derrick just stares right back. He asks what on earth he is doing while Thomas is over there furiously kicking the dead bug, desperately trying to get his dagger unstuck. The system hooks him up with a new Cure Toxin skill, plus an achievement for his first dungeon clear, basically a giant magical participation trophy. Back outside in the fresh air, Derrick asks if he is ready to leave this nightmare. During the walk back, Thomas finally admits loud and clear that daggers were a terrible choice. Grinning, Derrick offers him a spear, joking the last owner does not need it anymore. But that happy vibe completely vanishes as Derrick's face suddenly turns dead serious. You expected a happy return, right? Nope. Approaching the village, they spot thick smoke and 0 guards. He feels the heavy hostile magic and knows they are way too late. The village suffered a massive assault, and Derrick bursts through the broken gates, screaming out for Raina and Mallory. He spots Mallory first, just a level 1 civilian knocked completely unconscious on the ground. Then he finds Raina level 18 bleeding out fast with only a few minutes left. Thomas runs in right behind him, absolutely terrified by the carnage. Derrick immediately starts using his magic, desperately patching up the worst of their awful injuries. He orders his apprentice to stay put and guard them. But a completely terrified Thomas begs his master not to leave them alone. With his eyes glowing pure purple, Derrick promises to find out who did this. And we see exactly who it is, Gracefall holding his blade to the village chief's throat. He is blaming the old man for refusing to snitch on Derrick. So he casually sentences the old man to death for disobeying him. A real class act. A flunky raises his sword for the kill, but boom, a purple energy whip stops it cold. It is Raina, bloody but defiant. And trust me, you and I absolutely need to see what happens next. Alright, stick with me here. Derrick steps up, promising to absolutely destroy every last one of them. Gracefall absolutely loses his mind, screaming at his goons to attack. But Derrick, he just stands there totally unfazed by this B-team. An adventurer lunges in screaming for his head only to get swatted like a bug by one casual swing of Derrick's spear. Bam! She slams the ground hard, instantly knocked out cold. Her boss screams in pure disbelief at the insane power gap. So he powers up, erupting into a blazing golden fire. Charging a massive fireball, he vows to burn Derrick to ashes and unleashes an absolute blast of raw flame straight ahead. The attack tears across the village square. Pure destruction. The explosion literally rocks the entire area. But through the smoke, Raina stands firm for her sister. Gracefall and his lackey are absolutely stunned, wondering how she survived. Then glowing purple eyes pierce the fire. Derrick shielded her. He walks out of that raging inferno totally untouched. Not one single burn. Gracefall has a complete meltdown, screaming at his useless goons to just kill him already. Taking the hint, an archer lackey fires a lethal shot right at Derrick's head. Now watch this. Derrick casually snatches it mid-air like a fly. The archer's face immediately realizes he is 100% dead. So he decides he is definitely not getting paid enough for this and instantly bolts. A split second later, that exact arrow finds a new home right in his forehead. He tumbles off the roof, one down. Suddenly terrified villagers rush forward to block Derrick. The chief begs him to stop, terrified because these guys are actual nobles. Derrick's face is pure ice coldly, stating they already had their chance to run. Eyes locked on the next target. This new idiot actually charges forward, screaming loudly as he brings his heavy sword down. But Derrick stops the blade cold, barehanded. The guy is just stunned brain, fully short-circuiting right now. Derrick's hand crackles with some seriously bad news energy, and the weapon instantly shatters into a million pieces. He steps right over the completely useless goon, leaving him crying in the dust. Gracefall throws a full-blown tantrum about his trash backup. Powering up, he vows to show Derrick what superior noble blood really means. Derrick just smirks instantly, activating a skill called Channel Void. A purple flash teleport. He appears right behind him, hoisting the white-haired goon Wallace by the throat. Wallace starts begging, promising to disappear forever. Derrick coldly agrees, yeah, he definitely will not be seeing him again. His grip tightens, cutting off his air. This so-called tough guy immediately turns into a blubbering, teary mess. Then Gracefall plays the cheap hostage card. He grabs the chief, threatening the old man's life to force Derrick to back down. The chief pleads warning about the severe punishment for killing nobles. But Derrick, he just stares completely unfazed by the empty threat. Getting cocky, Gracefall calls him a dog, demanding obedience. Meanwhile, the chief begs Derrick to stop, terrified for the whole village. Using his hostage leverage, Gracefall loudly screams for Derrick to drop Wallace immediately, only for the chief to pull a blade and stab him right in the gut. Gracefall is stunned as the old man dares them. Standing over the villain, he declares that a true chieftain protects his people. You and I know Derrick's just been holding Wallace enjoying the show. He asks if the goon will swear off revenge for his life. Wallace frantically agrees, begging to be freed. Derrick just says good, but his dark tone promises absolutely no mercy whatsoever. Snap. He breaks Wallace's neck instantly. Promise totally rescinded. The chief just stares in pure horror, unable to process this brutal scene. Absolutely convinced, Derrick just signed a massive death warrant for the entire village. Meanwhile, our boy stands over the body casually, claiming his hand slipped. A true master of comedy. His attention then turns to the unconscious female goon he swatted way earlier, and he just scoops her off the ground carrying her bridal style, because of course our MC does. Walking through the square, terrified villagers part like the Red Sea, the chief still having a full-blown panic attack about their impending doom. One villager actually looks on with a determined expression, watching Derrick carry this enemy woman straight into the chief's own residence. That same guy rallies the others, telling everyone it is finally time to start cleaning up. And slowly, the townspeople get to work dealing with the messy aftermath of the assault. Inside, Derrick lays the unconscious woman on a couch. He tucks her in, looking surprisingly peaceful for an enemy, and just sits there quietly. A silent vigil after the chaos. Then boom, a system window pops up. He got a massive XP boost for killing nobles, completely ruining his training plans for Thomas. So, what do you and I learn today? He's the only guy in history actually furious about leveling up. Stick with me, the knocked out girl finally wakes up desperately calling his name. Looking totally wrecked, she immediately asks if the village survived. From his chair, Derrick calmly promises everyone is safe. Relieved, she sighs and collapses again, thanking him. But Derrick just shrugs. Why thank him? He claims they just spontaneously died. Total plausible deniability. This snaps her awake, grabbing his arm. Those guys were actual nobles. Her panic is 100% real. The entire village is in massive danger now. Derrick just smoothly takes her hand. They will keep it a secret, he says, and he has a plan if everyone shuts their mouths. Right on cue, our determined guy Leon leads the squad inside. Leon reports the bodies are hidden and drivers sworn to silence. Derrick casually mentions he will toss the corpses in his storage bracelet later. Meanwhile, the chief is having a complete mental breakdown over their hopeless situation. Still crying over Wallace, he really wishes Derrick had just let that guy live. Derrick tells Leon to chill. He has a plan, but he needs help looking at the small group like he needs them all. Now pay attention here. He gets this ice-cold look and announces he actually needs the entire village to pull this off. He looks at Chief Richard, asking how long until someone comes looking for them. A few days to a few weeks, hopefully the latter. So Derrick calls a massive village meeting to lay out his brand new company policy. The cover story is stupidly simple. The nobles arrived, grabbed a map and left. Brandy hypes it to the crowd. Blink and you missed them, they were barely there. To make this work, the chief has to lose his precious map. A fair trade. Next up, Derrick demands system-enforced oaths from his inner circle. Leon instantly gives him the ultimate side-eye. What for? Derrick explains it is Thomas's exact oath of total secrecy. But Leon refuses, claiming he is way too honorable for forced silence. Oh, suddenly he has principles. The chief also hesitates, but admits he will swear if truly necessary. From the couch, Brandy negotiates. She will swear if he guarantees the village's safety. He promises, and with that vague answer, she is in. Mallory insists friends do not need oaths, but she agrees to do it anyway. Raina enthusiastically jumps in too. If it worked for Thomas, it is good enough for her. Derrick thanks the three of them for trusting him. Then he tells the two stubborn holdouts to sit out. A system window pops up. 3 brand new members just joined the Secret Keepers Club. Now fully riding the conspiracy train, Brandy smirks and demands to hear the plan. Derrick flashes a wicked grin. He is so glad she finally asked that. The plan is a literal fairy tale. A storybook drawing of the chief handing over the map and the nobles marching to a level 100 dungeon never returning. This fake official story features Gracefall's crew doing a heroic deed by bravely fighting off a massive dungeon monster overflow. But tragically, the big bad dungeon boss wiped his team, and he died a beautiful hero's death to save the precious village. A true martyr sacrificing his life for the greater good. Total tearjerker stuff. I know what you're thinking, pure fiction. But that is his airtight alibi, leaving his inner circle stunned. And their collective reaction is just a massive what. With the alibi set, Derrick packs everyone for a field trip, but Brandy immediately questions going to a level 50 dungeon. He promises they will crush the big one after leveling up. He pitches this trip as a golden ticket for super rare rewards. Plus, he admits he has some wild system theories he wants to test out. Specifically how pre-level 10 experiences shape your class. Betting Raina could unlock something seriously overpowered. Mallory is still confused, asking why they are even bothering with weak dungeons. Derrick just hits her with a wink and a classic, "Trust me, you will see." He promises to power level them through this part. Then he suddenly grabs a very confused Reina for a random piggyback ride. Derrick sprints off carrying a screaming Reina while the rest of the crew marches down a super scenic country road. Their destination, a level 50 beast dungeon, right on schedule. Mallory's legs turn to jelly on the rickety bridge. Inside, Derrick reminds Brandy about her NDA because his biggest secret is dropping now. A system window pops up revealing everyone's levels and some crazy surprises. Brandy completely loses it, seeing his level is lower. He smirks, and trust me, you and I need to see what happens next. Alright, stick with me here as he activates the dungeon portal. Bam! Instant teleportation to a desert ruin. Our boy takes a cautious peek inside the main building to check the vibe. The whole squad is standing by, just waiting for the ultimate game plan. The strategy: he goes out, beats monsters into submission, and drags their half-dead bodies back. The low levels, they just take the final hit. Mallory is already laying down the absolute law for Thomas and his class upgrade. 0 daggers. Reina gets frontline duty with Derrick. Her only instruction: run for her absolute life if things get a little too dicey. Poor Brandy, the level 1 newbie, wonders what her job is. Derrick cheerfully lets her know she will be doing absolutely nothing. For safety, obviously. Mallory, on the other hand, is busy fantasizing about a literal mountain of monster hides to craft with. A girl can dream. But before the real fun starts, Derrick pauses. He points out her painfully basic spear. She admits it is just a hand-me-down. The real warriors took all the good gear, classic village hierarchy. So Derrick just dumps an entire armory onto the floor. Take your pick, he says casually. The whole crew is stunned, totally frozen by this insane loot explosion. You and I have to laugh at this. The ultimate infuriating, overpowered flex. Pulling out a fancy staff, he hands her a massive upgrade from that glorified stick. It even has pop-out blades. Basically a Swiss Army spear. She takes it, and then he hands Thomas some daggers, completely forgetting Mallory's strict new rule. Thomas instantly begs for them, but Derrick just shuts the kid down with one look. Spear it is, kid. The squad is geared up. He turns to Reina. Time to get this party rolling. They step out into the main dungeon zone and bam! Immediately greeted by a massive welcoming committee of angry giant goat demons. These beasts are pissed, growling, ready to charge. Derrick just flashes a grin. Oh yeah, this is going to be fun. His idea of fun is absolutely terrifying. Right on cue, the monsters trigger a full-blown stampede straight at them. Reina launches into the air with a flashy technique, totally ready for action. Meanwhile, Derrick walks up, punches a monster square in the jaw, and drags the dazed beast inside. He clears his throat for the newbies. Thomas steps up completely ready to introduce himself and secure that sweet level up. The kids instantly start bickering over the final hit. Outside, Reina is just going full anime protagonist on another goat demon. Derrick chills on a corpse pile, throwing her a casual thumbs up. Inside, one messy stab secures the free experience points for the kids. Just like that flash of light, both Thomas and Mallory hit level 25. He gives them a slow clap. Time to check those new class options. Derrick peeks right over Thomas's shoulder as the kid stares at his system window, absolutely floored by it. The system offered him a rare class called Soul Spear. It is a slick, armored warrior build that projects a spear for insane piercing damage. But Thomas hesitates, remembering his dagger-wielding dad. Mallory steps up with some solid support, reminding him his father would be proud no matter what. She checks her own screen next. Boom! An uncommon growth class called Demon's Fury. An Oni brawler build. We both know that is a perfect fit for her. Derrick is absolutely loving this, seeing his master power leveling plan work flawlessly. Turns out these villagers just needed a little violent external motivation to really thrive. Finally, he checks his own status window, wondering exactly how many levels he gained. Yep, the system confirms it. Level 25 milestone reached. But get this, he has been hoarding this XP since killing those nobles back at the village. So, with a wicked grin, he decides it is finally time to cash in his massive upgrade. His Champion of the Void class gets a huge boost. He is literally crackling with energy. He checks his 2 new skills, praying they are not just useless party tricks. First up is Void Shift. Basically a fancy way to phase right through space. Next is Void Sense, a passive radar for anything sneaky or weird. Derrick is actually pretty impressed. Way better than summoning a cosmic horror by mistake. So he just smashes accept on both of them. Zero hesitation here. The system power surge hits hard. His eyes glow as the new connection locks in. Suddenly, he feels the entire space around him, like a sixth sense just kicked on. Our boy clenches his fist, absolutely addicted to this new insane upgrade. Wisely, he decides not to test the teleport skill yet. Nobody wants another Void Call disaster. Reina, meanwhile, is all business. She asks if he is ready for round 2. Thomas is basically vibrating with excitement, screaming yes, like a kid on Christmas morning. So, what do you and I take from this? The grind never stops. Derrick and Reina dive straight back into the fray for more monster punching. Stick with me. You and I are about to watch these two absolutely shred through goat demons like it is nothing. Derrick vaults off a tree, launching himself into this insane aerial dive. Boom! He crashes down like a literal meteor, flattening a monster completely. The dust clears. He drops a super casual "well done" and announces the main event is finally here. He and Reina lock in, totally ready for the dungeon boss. Right on cue, this absolute unit of an axe-wielding beast stomps right into frame. Glowing red eyes. Pure nightmare fuel. The system chimes in. Meet Iron Hoof, a level 65 boss, ready to completely wreck their day. Derrick calls dibs. He wants this one completely solo. Reina just steps back. You got it, chief. So our guy squares up against this massive beast, dark void energy violently crackling in his hand. He smirks. Sure, the boss is way higher level, so it is definitely not a fair fight. But honestly, he promises to hold back a little. He just wants to test drive some shiny new toys. The ultimate disrespect. The boss clearly hates the smack talk roaring as it swings that massive axe straight down. A massive shockwave shatters the ground, but Derrick already mid-air leaping backward. This right here is the absolute perfect second to bust out his new skill. Void shift activated. Boom. The entire world just freezes, instantly shattering into this wild, frozen cosmic void. He just stands there totally baffled. Did he just accidentally pause time itself? The boss is stuck completely solid mid-swing. Derrick literally asks if the guy is okay. That hilarious close-up on its angry frozen face classic. Oh yeah, totally frozen. But wait, he spots these bizarre purple portals just floating everywhere in this strange dimension. Now watch closely because his first instinct is to poke it, you know, for science. A hand instantly shoots out of another portal and pokes him right back. Our boy literally screams, jumping backward in pure, unadulterated panic. He freezes, staring at his own hand. Wait a minute, the gears are turning. He shoves his hand into one portal and it pops out the other side. Holy cow, this is completely broken. He even uses the portal hand to scratch his own head. Though, yeah, this is definitely going to take some practice. Ding system warning. His mana is sitting at 10%. Because obviously a god-tier skill like this drains energy like crazy. Realizing he is almost totally empty, he cuts the skill. Snap, he drops back into reality just as that massive axe absolutely obliterates where he just was. The boss just stares completely confused. How on earth did that strike miss? Our boy hits him with the smuggest taunt ever. He is loving this teleportation trick. The smack talk works perfectly, making the monster completely lose it and charge again. That giant axe drops like lightning, aimed straight for his head, but wait, he casually blocks the heavy blade with his bare forearm like it is nothing. Glowing green, he tells the beast they are not done. Then he pops meditation. You and I both know, meditating mid-boss fight is a wildly bold flex. Mana totally refreshed, he looks at the giant beast and invites it for round 2. He hits void shift instantly, diving straight back into the frozen pocket dimension. He dodges another lethal swing, then reappears directly behind the confused monster. The monster spins around absolutely furious while Derrick just calmly dares it to try again. The beast jumps for a huge aerial smash, but Derrick is already opening a ground portal. He just falls backwards right into the void, vanishing completely, which means the boss just smashes empty dirt all over again. A fresh portal rips open above the monster. Derrick drops out swinging and just starts chaining portals together, striking from literally every single angle possible, pure chaos. It all ends with a massive void-powered slash. The attack completely shreds the boss, leaving Iron Hoof heavily wounded while our guy just calmly stands there. He pushes the advantage as things get even crazier. The tension spikes up, stakes hitting the ceiling. The momentum shifts, completely flipping the balance. You can feel the heavy atmosphere change between them before the clash continues. Pure energy simmers right beneath the surface. He firmly holds his ground as the chaos unfolds, shifting the dynamic with one step. The next crazy story beat drops hard. The pressure keeps rising as this dangerous showdown just keeps escalating. Our lead charges right back in. The tension is completely maxed out now as the insane stakes grow higher. Everything shifts again, tipping the scales. A heavy aura changes the very air around them, hanging there before the simmering conflict finally boils over. He locks down his stance, watching the situation unfold. One quick step, the whole dynamic changes and the next brutal phase begins. The crushing pressure rises as this wild clash reaches new heights. He pushes through the escalating madness. The tension is absolute madness right now. The moment shifts, tipping the entire battle. A spark changes the heavy air between them. The intense scene holds for just a second. Conflict simmers before he firmly plants his feet for the next move. A single step completely changes the dynamic. Boom, the next big twist lands. The pressure goes through the roof as the fight intensifies. Moving forward, he faces the escalating danger head-on. The tension is insane as the high stakes get higher. The balance tips one final time today. Trust me, you and I are definitely going to want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are about to dive right into the absolute most ridiculous standoff in manhwa history today. The tension here is thick enough to cut with a sword. Things are escalating fast. Our main guy refuses to back down. The stakes way higher than they should be. Suddenly the whole vibe flips completely upside down. The air between them turns absolutely freezing. We get a dramatic pause, then pure, unadulterated chaos erupts everywhere. He plants his feet firmly on the ground. She takes one menacing step forward, and the entire power dynamic instantly shifts into overdrive. The pressure hits the absolute roof as this absurdly dangerous clash goes to the extreme. He pushes harder, refusing to lose. The legendary face-off just keeps on escalating. The tension is seriously breaking the scale right now. The moment flips, and suddenly the advantage completely tips in a hilarious new direction. Something electric literally sparks in the air between them. The intense stare-down holds, then breaks. That heavy, simmering conflict refuses to die down. The wild escalation just keeps getting worse. He holds his ground like an absolute boss. She steps closer, and the entire mood shifts into something totally unpredictable. Now pay attention closely, because this is exactly where you and I witness the absolute comedy madness kick into high gear. The very next ridiculous beat of this story lands perfectly. The pressure is rising fast. He charges in completely recklessly, while this deadly clash just keeps escalating to crazy heights. The stakes are honestly getting way too high. The moment suddenly shifts, and the balance of power completely tilts right over the edge. Pure madness. Something totally weird changes in the air between them. The dramatic scene freezes for a second, then quickly moves on. The rivalry is real. He stubbornly holds his ground as this hilarious disaster of a situation finally plays out. She takes one step, and the crazy power dynamic instantly shifts all over again. The next chaotic beat lands super hard. The pressure rises heavily as this ridiculously dangerous showdown just refuses to slow down for even a second. Our crazy main character pushes forward, completely ignoring common sense as the wild conflict escalates. Huge amounts of tension build up instantly as the absurd stakes somehow grow even higher. The vibe violently shifts and the balance completely tips. Something seriously weird changes in the tense space between these two. The scene holds for max comedic effect, then violently moves on. Secret conflict is totally simmering right beneath the surface. He completely refuses to move a single inch as the completely unhinged situation unfolds further. She confidently takes another step, and the crazy dynamic instantly shifts into total chaos mode. You and I both saw that fake out coming, right? Well, think again, because the next beat of this crazy story lands harder than expected. The mental pressure is rising super fast as this dangerously funny clash keeps escalating to legendary levels. Our guy blindly pushes forward again. The utterly ridiculous conflict just keeps going up. Tension builds as the fake stakes grow. The exact moment shifts and the entire hilarious balance of power finally tips. Something super intense changes in the awkward air between them. The crazy scene holds for a long beat, then finally moves on. Total chaos simmers. He aggressively holds his ground as the unbelievably dumb situation continues to unfold right here. She bravely takes one more step, and the bizarre dynamic completely shifts to her favor. The absolute next beat of the dramatic story crashes down. The internal pressure is rising as this dangerous comedy clash escalates. The male lead violently pushes forward as the insane conflict keeps getting worse. Hilarious tension builds as the fake stakes explode. The crucial moment flips over, and the comedic balance tips completely out of his control. Something definitely changes in the heavy air between them. The weird scene holds perfectly still. It moves right along. Intense rivalry is heavily simmering beneath the seemingly calm surface. He bravely holds his ground as the wild situation beautifully unfolds. She slowly takes a menacing step, and the hilarious dynamic violently shifts. The absolute next wild beat of the story lands perfectly here. The immense pressure keeps rising as the supposedly dangerous clash just keeps on endlessly escalating. The foolish lead pushes forward as the completely unnecessary conflict somehow keeps escalating. Massive tension quickly builds as the fake stakes grow infinitely higher. The crazy moment suddenly shifts and the entire comedic balance violently tips over backwards. Something totally wild changes in the awkward air between them. The dramatic scene holds tight, then it quickly moves on. Hidden rivalry is absolutely simmering right beneath the calm surface. So, what do you and I take from this madness? Never underestimate a manhwa protagonist with absolutely zero sense of shame. She confidently takes one last step, the dynamic completely shifts forever, and this absolutely legendary clash finally reaches its peak chaos. Alright, you and I are about to watch the most hilarious misunderstanding in manhwa history. Our guy steps right up to her, and the awkward tension is totally off the charts. Suddenly everything freezes. You can practically see sparks flying between them right now. They just stare. Pure comedy gold is brewing right here. He refuses to back down, acting tough. Then she takes one single step forward, totally flipping the script. Boom, here comes the twist. The vibe gets super intense in seconds. Our guy doubles down completely, ignoring all common sense. Things are getting way too serious, then everything flips totally upside down. The atmosphere gets weirdly heavy. Everyone holds their breath, just waiting for the explosion. Pure chaos is waiting to happen while he stays totally frozen. She steps closer, completely breaking his defense. And here we go again. The pure panic in his eyes right now is absolutely hilarious. He tries to act cool, pushing his luck. But wow, the stakes are getting ridiculous. The whole dynamic changes in a flash. You can literally feel the madness brewing. Everyone watches in total disbelief. A total disaster is brewing right now. He desperately tries to look brave. She steps up and he instantly regrets everything. What happens next? Pure comedy gold. The intense pressure makes him sweat bullets. Our guy tries talking back, making things worse. It is a certified disaster in motion. Wait, the whole mood just changed again. They lock eyes and the silence is deafening. Nobody moves a muscle. This misunderstanding is getting legendary. He bravely stands there, sweating like crazy. She moves closer, completely owning the room. And then the funniest thing happens right here. Now, watch closely. This is where the misunderstanding hits absolute peak comedy. He actually tries challenging her. The tension is so thick, then his fake confidence just shatters instantly. The whole room feels completely different now. Everyone is just staring at them. It is honestly so awkward, but he stubbornly refuses to back down. She leans in and his brain completely short-circuits. Next thing we know, the whole situation turns into an absolute clown show. He blurts out the absolute worst possible response. And yeah, things just got worse. 1 second later, everything falls apart. You can practically hear his soul leaving his body. The class just watches. Total disaster incoming, folks. He tries to look tough while shaking. She takes another step, completely destroying his ego. And then bam, the sheer embarrassment hits him like an absolute freight train. Our main guy doubles down on his mistake. This is peak anime cringe, honestly. Wait, a sudden plot twist happens. Her expression totally changes from angry to confused. Everyone freezes. The awkward silence is actually painfully loud now. He still pretends he meant to say that. She steps back, completely bewildered. And this is where the real comedy begins. The misunderstanding hits god-tier levels right here. Our guy pushes his weird logic even further. This is honestly getting out of hand, then everything goes entirely sideways. A totally weird energy settles over them. The background characters are just staring in disbelief. It is purely ridiculous, yet he stands there acting proud. I know what you are thinking. He is doomed, right? Yep, she steps up and his whole life flashes before his eyes. He actually tries explaining himself again. It is a massive train wreck happening in slow motion. The vibe instantly switches up. You can practically see the question marks above her head. Then she totally snaps. The comedy tension is just brilliant here. He tries to look tough. She simply smirks and his soul leaves him. Bam, the next punchline drops. The sheer embarrassment he feels is absolutely legendary. Our hero refuses to admit defeat. The absolute stubbornness of this guy is wildly funny. Wait for it, the atmosphere shifts yet again. Suddenly, a weird spark of respect flashes. They pause for a second, but the rivalry stays strong. He squares up like a true anime protagonist. She steps right into his personal space, totally surprising him. Then absolute chaos ensues. The panic level hits maximum right now. He blindly charges ahead, making the misunderstanding much worse. Things are ridiculously intense, and then the power dynamic completely shifts. A totally bizarre realization hits them both. Time practically freezes for comedic effect. It is incredibly awkward right now, yet he stubbornly maintains his ridiculous pose. She steps aside, completely dodging his weird logic. And boom, the next hilarious moment hits. The sheer secondhand embarrassment is physically painful. He still tries to look cool while failing miserably. This entire situation is pure gold. The absolute absurdity hits its peak here. You can totally feel the secondhand cringe radiating. Then they finally just break. The hilarious rivalry is officially cemented. He stands there looking totally defeated but proud. She just sighs, shaking her head. So, what do you and I make of this? A totally hilarious rivalry just started. Let's dive into this wild manhwa. Our boy charges in and things get absolutely out of hand. Suddenly the whole vibe flips. You can practically see the awkward tension hovering in the air. Time freezes for a second before the hidden chaos completely boils over. He stands there sweating buckets while she casually takes one step forward, totally wrecking his momentum. And bam, the plot thickens right on cue. The panic sets in as this messy showdown levels up. But our MC blindly rushes back into the danger zone. The stakes are through the roof now. Suddenly the power dynamic totally flips upside down. A weird, intense energy sparks between them. Everyone pauses for dramatic effect naturally. The silent beef is real, but he stubbornly plants his feet and waits it out. One step from her and all his confidence completely evaporates. The next crazy moment hits hard, cranking up the heat as this disastrous fight gets even wilder. Our guy awkwardly bluffs his way forward, making things worse. The tension is so thick you could cut it. The momentum suddenly swings the other way. The atmosphere gets totally weird between them, holding that classic anime pause before chaos resumes. Pure hostility is brewing underneath. He tries to look tough while this mess plays out, but her single step forward completely changes the game. Watch closely because it gets good here. The stress absolutely skyrockets as this disastrous clash keeps leveling up. Our confident hero pushes his luck, dragging out the fight. The risk factor is jumping off the charts. In a flash, the upper hand changes. A seriously intense aura forms between them, locking everyone in a stare down before the spicy drama starts cooking again. He acts brave while everything completely falls apart. She casually steps up completely, wrecking his entire strategy, and the next punchline hits perfectly. The sweat drops multiply as this reckless standoff gets even more insane. Yet our clueless main character just stubbornly advances anyway. The drama meter is fully maxed out now. Suddenly, the entire power dynamic flips completely. The vibe between them gets completely unhinged. The frame pauses, classic suspense style, before moving forward. The beef is simmering, but he holds his ridiculous pose anyway. She literally takes one step and his dominance crumbles. The plot delivers a hilarious smackdown as the pressure cooks and this fight escalates. The MC blindly charges in, turning up the chaos. Every second adds more insane risk to this absolute disaster. Then boom, the advantage switches instantly. The heavy atmosphere between them freezes the moment perfectly before the story completely derails again. Secret rage is totally bubbling up. He stubbornly stays glued to his spot, but her single forward movement completely ruins his vibe. The narrative drops its next hilarious twist. Panic heavily sets in as this dangerous, goofy brawl ramps up. Our guy doubles down on his nonsense, worsening the feud. The absolute tension here is reaching catastrophic levels. You and I both know this won't end well, right? The air gets crazy thick, the stare down drags out, and that quiet hostility is basically boiling over now. He refuses to budge while reality crashes down. She boldly steps up instantly, seizing the high ground, and the plot delivers its next punch. The stress is unbearable as this lethal comedy gets louder, but our foolish hero just keeps aggressively stepping forward anyway. The gamble gets bigger and the anxiety spikes. Suddenly the entire momentum completely flips around. An invisible spark totally changes the mood. The camera lingers dramatically, then cuts away. The hidden grudge is real, but he defends his spot like a statue. Her tiny step forward completely shatters his fragile dominance. The next crazy chapter hits, cranking the danger up as their intense feud reaches maximum overdrive. The MC hilariously charges in to make things worse. The epic suspense builds as the consequences get massive. In a heartbeat, the scale totally tips. The heavy aura shifts gears, holding a suspenseful pause before the absolute madness continues. The silent anger is totally cooking. He tries acting tough while the event plays out, but her slow step completely destroys his control. Boom, the next hilarious reveal drops. The crushing pressure doubles as this high-stakes showdown gets totally out of hand. Our loudmouth lead refuses to quit pushing the conflict further. The suspense is literally off the ridiculous charts now. The advantage hilariously flips instantly. A totally different vibe sparks up, holding the frame in pure suspense before their secret fiery rivalry bubbles right back up. He flexes his non-existent muscles as things go south. She calmly steps forward, completely flipping the script, and the story hits us with gold. Pure panic spreads as this risky brawl multiplies in scale. Still, the main character stubbornly forces his way right through it. The risk is insanely high right now. In an instant, the power balance totally reverses. A completely ridiculous aura ignites between them. The cinematic pause hits perfectly, then vanishes. The petty rage is brewing, but he stubbornly plants his feet anyway. With one single step, she absolutely dominates the room. The comedy peaks and the heavy atmosphere suffocates them as this dangerous mess keeps getting worse. The hero boldly advances into the absolute disaster. The sweat drops are flying as the consequences get dangerously real. Suddenly, the ultimate upper hand shifts again. The weird vibe between them freezes everything for one hilarious second before the plot chugs along. The unspoken hostility is practically burning. He stands totally firm despite the chaos, but her quiet step forward immediately flips the control. The final hilarious punchline hits perfectly. The intensity skyrockets as this absurd, dangerous showdown hits its absolute peak. Our guy charges in as the drama explodes. Trust me, you and I are definitely going to want more. Alright, you and I are about to watch the most awkwardly hilarious standoff in manhwa history. The vibe between these two completely shifts right here. Pure chaos is brewing. Our guy stands totally frozen while this mess happens. Then she steps closer and the panic is real. The plot thickens in the dumbest way. Sweat is literally dripping as this ridiculous fight gets worse. Our main character refuses to back down from this crazy escalation. The stakes unnecessarily high. Suddenly the entire advantage flips right upside down. A super weird energy sparks between them. Everyone just stares in total shock before the action resumes. He plants his feet firmly, refusing to lose his absolute pride. She casually walks forward, completely changing the vibe. The absolute madness continues. The heavy aura gets even more suffocating as they glare. Our hero charges in blindly while the madness peaks. The comedic tension is absolutely off the charts. Everything pauses. The power dynamic completely reverses. You can literally cut the awkward silence with a knife before it continues. Hidden anger is practically bubbling. He stays completely rigid, sweating buckets. One tiny step from her and everything goes crazy. And then bam. The heavy pressure skyrockets as this hilarious deathmatch just keeps going. Our clueless lead steps right into the danger zone. Things are getting way too dangerously dramatic. The whole mood just drops. That weird spark flashes between them again. A brief pause, and then the hidden rage starts boiling over like a volcano. He stubbornly refuses to move an inch. She just smirks and steps closer, totally taking control. The next punchline is about to drop. The suffocating aura doubles as their stupid argument gets completely out of hand. Our guy pushes forward anyway. Now watch this. The tension is insane. Everything you thought you knew is about to flip. The weird chemistry between them completely changes the game. Total freeze frame, then action. While the quiet anger boils over, he stands there like an absolute brick wall. One confident step from her, and he is sweating. The story hits another ridiculous peak. Their intense staring contest just keeps getting more hostile. He forces himself closer, making it 10 times worse. The dramatic stakes are absolutely going wild. A split second passes and the advantage flips. That undeniable spark flares up again. Just a momentary pause before chaos. Bad blood is boiling right under the surface. He stays planted in defense mode. She casually steps up, completely dominating. The next crazy twist hits hard. The murderous pressure explodes as this fake fight levels up. Our hero aggressively steps up, fueling the fire. This comedic standoff just hit maximum overdrive. Suddenly, the momentum completely derails. A very different kind of energy crackles between them. The world stops, then resumes. This secret grudge is getting seriously hilarious. He refuses to flinch while this disaster happens. She closes the distance, making him panic internally. Boom, the next crazy scene drops. The air gets heavy as their bizarre rivalry gets way too intense. Our hero charges right ahead. The anxiety is totally real right now. In a flash, the underdog takes the lead. That intense enemy aura suddenly morphs into something else. Everyone stops breathing, then the madness returns. With the unspoken rivalry burning, he bravely holds his ridiculous pose. Her single step completely destroys his false confidence. The plot thickens perfectly. You can literally feel the stress as this dumb fight gets real. I know what you're thinking, he is going to win, right? Well, think again. The stakes just multiplied. The whole atmosphere breaks. An electric tension snaps between these two absolute idiots. A quick pause, and it continues. Pure irritation is bubbling. He stands perfectly still like a deer in headlights. She walks forward, claiming total psychological victory. The craziest part just dropped. That suffocating anime pressure spikes as their showdown gets worse. Our main guy aggressively presses the issue. The dramatic tension is literally reaching legendary levels now. The tables turn instantly. A super dangerous vibe locks them together. The scene freezes for maximum comedic effect, then resumes. This petty grudge is boiling. He completely braces himself for impact. She takes one menacing step, ruining his whole strategy. The next hilarious twist hits us. The heavy aura crushes everyone as this ridiculous battle spirals. Our hero blindly steps into the fire. Things are getting incredibly out of hand. Instantly, the upper hand violently switches sides. A strange, deadly silence falls between them. The animation basically pauses, then snaps back. The unspoken fury bubbles while he nervously tries to stand his ground. She casually steps up, completely stealing the spotlight. Boom, another wild development. The sheer gravity of this stupid argument is actually terrifying. Our guy aggressively doubles down on his mistake. The comedic stakes have honestly never been higher. The pacing shifts entirely. An electric death glare connects them. The world holds its breath and then chaos restarts. Their hidden hostility is literally sparking. He maintains his stubborn stance, sweating nervously. One step from her and he crumbles. The final hilarious punchline hits. The overwhelming aura explodes as this fake duel hits climax. Our clueless hero takes one last dramatic step. This intense standoff just hit absolute peak madness. So what do you and I take from this absolute madness? Never challenge her. The grudge stays alive, and trust me, it only gets funnier. Alright, you and I are about to watch the absolute funniest standoff in manhwa history unfold right here. The awkwardness is real. The sweat drops are huge as this ridiculous staring contest levels up. Our guy aggressively leans in, refusing to blink. The awkward silence is deafening now. Suddenly the vibe completely flips on its head. You can literally feel the comedic tension brewing. The camera pans awkwardly. He stands there completely frozen like a statue as chaos quietly bubbles up. She steps closer, instantly ruining his personal space. Boom, plot progression. The stress levels go totally off the charts in this silly standoff. He bravely takes a half step forward. The invisible sparks flying between them are purely chaotic. Suddenly, the power dynamic totally reverses itself. The sheer panic in his eyes is priceless. We pause for dramatic effect, then continue. Pure comic anxiety is boiling over now. He desperately refuses to retreat. She marches forward again, throwing his entire game plan off. Another painfully silent moment drops. The mental gymnastics happening right now are honestly legendary. Our main character puffs out his chest, trying to look tough. The invisible pressure is suffocating. The mood takes a sharp left turn. That murderous aura she is giving off is terrifyingly funny. The shot lingers, then we cut back. He firmly plants his feet like a stubborn rock. She inches closer again, completely ignoring his invisible boundary. And the staring continues. It is basically an anime battle of pure willpower now. Our guy pushes his luck, stepping into the danger zone. The stakes are hilariously high at this point. Suddenly, someone makes a tiny mistake. Now watch closely, because right here is where things go from incredibly awkward to completely hilarious for us. He defensively locks his knees in place. She closes the gap even more, totally cornering him. Boom, dramatic sound effect. The sheer panic is practically radiating off this guy right now. Our dude tries a bold counterattack by leaning in. The room is so quiet, it hurts. The upper hand just swapped again. You can cut the comedic tension with a knife. The camera just stays locked on his terrified face. He is sweating bullets but refuses to break eye contact. She aggressively stomps one foot down, completely destroying his fake confidence. The plot thickens in the dumbest way possible. This silent war is reaching maximum capacity. Our hero desperately tries to assert dominance. The cringe levels are breaking through the roof. The momentum wildly swings out of his favor. Her glare is literally piercing his soul. We hold on his shaking legs before checking the aftermath. He stubbornly refuses to back down, gripping his pride. She calmly steps into his personal bubble. Another hilarious scene drops right on us. This fake life or death scenario is honestly too funny. He leans forward, totally committing to the bit. The silent screaming is so loud right now. The advantage completely flips once again. A dark comedic aura suddenly surrounds her. We pause on his absolute horror, then snap back. He nervously stands tall as his doom approaches. She closes in for the final emotional strike. Wham, the punchline builds up. The mental warfare here is getting dangerously out of hand. He foolishly challenges her by raising his chin. The secondhand embarrassment is genuinely overwhelming now. I know what you are thinking. Are they really still just glaring at each other? Yes, they absolutely are. Pure chaotic energy is flooding the room. He defensively crosses his arms, bracing for impact. She slides closer, making him instantly regret everything. Here comes the next wave of pure awkwardness. This cartoonish showdown is getting so intense. He boldly takes a massive step towards her. The invisible anime sparks are flying everywhere. The situation completely spirals out of control. Her smile is so creepy, it is amazing. The camera freezes on his mistake before rolling the chaos. He acts tough while his legs literally shake. She effortlessly steps up, stealing his thunder completely. The next dramatic manga panel hits hard. The sheer stupidity of this standoff is pure gold. Our boy aggressively refuses to be outdone here. The tension is so thick you could slice it. Suddenly his fake confidence totally crumbles. A boss battle aura literally erupts from her. The frame hangs on his gulp of fear. The petty argument stews. He tries holding back tears. She traps him in a corner with one step. Boom, plot twist. The hilarious panic mode is fully activated as things escalate. He makes one last desperate attempt to look cool. The stakes are comically huge right now. All his remaining dignity flies right out the window. The vibe goes from serious to pure comedy. The scene pauses before the disaster. The unspoken threat is incredibly loud. He plants his feet, sweating profusely. She calmly closes the distance completely, sealing his hilarious fate. The grand finale of this stare-down arrives. The stress is hitting supercritical levels. Our guy finally cracks under the immense pressure. This ridiculous battle is reaching its absolute peak. He totally surrenders the upper hand. The comedic timing here is an absolute masterpiece. We get one last dramatic close-up before the ridiculous aftermath. So what do you and I learn here? Never mess with the female lead. Trust me, you are going to love this ending. Let's dive into the most ridiculously intense stare-down ever. Our main guy recklessly charges right into the madness. The sweat is real now. The stakes sky high. Suddenly, the whole vibe completely flips upside down. A weird energy sparks between them. Everyone just freezes for a second. You can literally feel the silent screaming, but he stubbornly plants his feet while the chaos unfolds. She steps up, completely changing the game. Boom, plot twist. The panic meter goes off the charts as this absolute disaster of a fight gets even wilder. Our boy keeps pressing his luck, making things worse. The anxiety levels are seriously hitting critical mass right now. Just like that, the power dynamic totally reverses. The awkward silence between them is deafening before the pure comedy resumes. Pure spite is bubbling up. He refuses to budge an inch, but then she inches closer, totally wrecking his tough guy act. Bam, another crazy reveal hits. The room feels suffocating as this over-the-top showdown hits maximum overdrive. He confidently marches right into the danger zone. Things are getting way too real, way too fast. The entire mood turns on a dime. That weird tension is back, holding everyone hostage for a heartbeat. You can cut the hidden rage with a butter knife. He sweats but stays glued to his spot. She takes one menacing step forward, flipping the script again. And then the punchline finally drops. Blood pressure is spiking as they just keep clashing. Our hero foolishly doubles down instead of just walking away. Now watch closely. This is where it gets hilarious, and the whole situation goes sideways. An electric, super awkward vibe hits them. Time stops, then speeds up again. The petty rivalry is boiling hot, but he desperately pretends to look cool through it all. One step from her and his confidence shatters. The next crazy moment hits hard. Everyone is holding their breath as this ridiculous beef spirals totally out of control. Still, our idiot main character pushes forward, fueling the fire. The danger level just keeps creeping up and up. The tables turn in the blink of an eye. You can practically see the awkward sparks flying. A perfect comedic pause, then chaos resumes. Unspoken threats are everywhere, while he desperately tries to look completely unfazed. She closes the gap and his tough guy aura vanishes. Boom, the plot thickens. The hype is unreal as this goofy rivalry turns into absolute warfare. He ignores all red flags and dives deeper. Suddenly, losing this argument means losing his actual life. The upper hand changes targets once again. A silent conversation happens with just their eyes before the madness starts up again. Secretly, they are both fuming. He stands there like a statue, but one step from her throws his entire strategy off balance. And here comes the actual punchline. The stress is giving me gray hairs as they keep bickering. He throws caution to the wind, keeping the fight alive. Things are getting way too intense for a comedy. Suddenly, the momentum swings entirely in her favor. A totally unexpected vibe hits them, pausing the argument. But underneath, the petty revenge is still brewing hot. He refuses to back down, sweating profusely. She steps closer, totally taking charge. Then the story drops another hilarious curveball right on his head. You and I both thought he'd quit, right? Nope, he just keeps escalating this hilarious train wreck of a battle. It is getting way too intense now. Suddenly, the whole power dynamic does a complete 180. The mood shifts into pure romantic comedy territory. Everyone freezes in shock. The hostility is still there, but he bravely holds his ridiculous pose as things get weirder. She steps right into his personal space, breaking his brain. Another huge moment drops. The heavy breathing starts as this deadly standoff reaches peak absurdity. Our fearless idiot pushes his luck even further. The consequences of losing this fight are literally unimaginable now. The tension completely shatters. That awkward, flustered energy surrounds them, holding the frame for a hilarious second before moving forward. Silent rage is still bubbling. He stubbornly guards his pride, but her sudden movement completely destroys his carefully planned defense. The next big comedy beat hits perfectly. The room is spinning as this unhinged battle of wits explodes. He presses the attack, totally blind to the danger. We are in serious trouble as the drama peaks. Instantly, his advantage vanishes into thin air. An undeniable chemistry sparks up, freezing them both in place. But the burning desire to win this dumb argument remains. He braces himself for the absolute worst. She steps up, officially claiming the high ground. Boom, the craziest part of the chapter finally arrives. The heat is totally unbearable as they butt heads. Our guy stubbornly pushes forward, completely refusing to accept defeat. The absolute panic is setting in now. In a flash, her counterattack completely flips the entire board. A hilarious charged silence drops between them. We get a perfect comedic pause. The annoyance is real, but he impressively stands firm while this disaster keeps playing out. She moves in, absolutely destroying his confidence. The next twist drops like a hammer. The intensity is through the roof as they refuse to back down. Yet he stubbornly argues back, making it so much worse. The sheer embarrassment on the line is astronomically high. Once again, the vibe completely shifts against him. That weird, funny tension returns, pausing the world before the next disaster strikes. Deep down, they are both fiercely competitive. He nervously plants his feet, but her one step forward completely shatters his defenses. And that's where we leave it. Trust me, you're going to want to see this insane clash continue. Alright, stick with me. Our guy pushes forward, and the tension in this hilarious showdown just skyrocketed. The whole vibe shifts completely. You can feel the awkward tension hanging heavy in the air between them. A long pause, and then pure chaos starts bubbling underneath. He stubbornly holds his ground, refusing to back down. But then she takes one single step forward, and the entire power dynamic flips upside down instantly. The absolute panic rises as this crazy clash gets worse. Yet our guy just keeps pushing forward like a total madman. The sweat is real as the stakes hit rock bottom. The momentum suddenly swings against him. The atmosphere completely freezes between them. For a second, nobody breathes. Absolute silence. But the hilarious rivalry is still boiling over as he somehow manages to stand firm. She confidently steps up and suddenly he is the one sweating. The plot thickens and the pressure in this ridiculous battle of egos just goes off the charts. Still, our hero pushes forward into the madness. The sheer tension reaches absolutely insane comedic levels. Everything flips in a heartbeat. The intense glaring contest between them changes holding for a beat before the absolute craziness continues. Hidden panic boils just out of sight. He holds his ground desperately, but then she takes another step, completely ruining his confidence. Boom, the next hilarious twist hits. The pressure cooker explodes as their ridiculous feud ramps up again. Now watch closely. Our guy pushes forward and the stakes in this ridiculous argument hit maximum overdrive. Suddenly the advantage shifts again. You can slice the weird romantic tension with a knife. Time basically stops and that unsaid rivalry just keeps cooking right below the surface. He totally braces himself for impact. Then she steps closer, entirely changing the game, and the next big punchline of this mess finally lands. The stress levels are peaking as their wild standoff continues. Our main character steps up, refusing to lose face today. The absolute suspense grows. In a flash, the mood shifts, and his advantage totally disappears. The electric vibe between them completely drops. Everyone freezes waiting. Unspoken chaos bubbles up, but our boy somehow manages to hold his position through the madness. One step forward from her, and his whole plan crumbles. The crazy drama hits hard. The pressure is suffocating, as this over-the-top battle somehow gets worse. Refusing to quit, he pushes ahead into the fire. The suspense builds up, making things impossibly hilarious. In 1 second, the scales tip entirely. That weird, intense energy between them flares up, pausing before the real disaster starts. Frustration is literally simmering right now. He plants his feet stubbornly, but her next step completely shatters his tough guy act. You and I both know this is a terrible idea, but the crazy pressure just keeps rising. Even still, our guy pushes forward blindly. The sheer comedy of these stakes getting higher is priceless. The situation flips on its head completely. The undeniable spark between them flares holding for just a second before the hidden drama starts cooking up once again. Sweating bullets, he holds his ground. She takes one menacing little step, completely flipping the script. The story hits its wildest turning point yet. The intense pressure gets totally overwhelming as their chaotic fight ramps up and he stubbornly pushes forward anyway. The ridiculous tension peaks. In a split second, everything shifts and he loses the upper hand. The heavy mood suddenly cracks. A long, awkward pause happens, leaving all that crazy, unspoken tension bubbling underneath. Digging his heels in, he tries playing it cool, but she steps closer, ruining his vibe, and the next big comedic moment drops hard. Absolute panic sets in as this petty war explodes. Despite everything, our idiot hero pushes forward into the mess. Things get way too real now. The vibe completely changes, knocking him totally off balance. That weird, aggressive chemistry sparks up again. The standoff pauses, then resumes. Chaos simmers silently, while he miraculously manages to stand his ground like a boss. Trust me, we aren't ready as she steps closer.